Welcome to the Neighborhood Watch Party podcast with George, James, and Drew. While we may essentially just be fans of the sport, we passionately debate it weekly and have recorded it here for your viewing pleasure. Check out our social media in the description to find us on other platforms. Please enjoy. All right, welcome to the Neighborhood Watch Party podcast. I mean, as it said, check out those socials, but we're going to hop as quickly as we can into the bulk of the content today. So this is going to be our first episode. We're going to do some general introductions here to introduce you to the gang and give you a little description about what the show is going to be about before we get into the actual content. But plain and simple, like sort of like the description said, we're all fans of sports, but particularly we're going to be focusing on football here. We're all interested in football. We all talk it on a day-to-day basis as is, and we figured we'd record it and put it out just to show you guys a little bit of our fun conversations that we get to manage to get a little of a laugh out of, and we figured that you guys might as well. And so I guess I could start with my own first introduction today. I am Andrew Niter, but in the show we're going to be going by Drew here. I am a Steelers fan at heart. I've been going to Steelers games ever since I was a little kid. My dad even took me to the Super Bowl down in Tampa when we got to beat the Cardinals, and I might have missed the James Harrison return because I was getting a corn dog, but I did get to see the big catch down at the end that won the game. So that goes down to one of his moments of my favorite sporting events ever. It was crazy to be at, but I've been at a lot of other Steelers games. I'm a Steelers sports fan all around. I watch the Pirates and Penguins as well. I'm a Notre Dame grad, so I'm a Notre Dame there when it comes to college stuff. But other than that, I'm not much of a sports guy. I was a big bowler in high school. I did a little bit of tennis. So I've played sports before. I did soccer, a little bit of flag football, actually. But that was only for 1 year. So that only got 1 year of any football experience. But I've definitely been watching the sport since I was a young child. But we could definitely toss it over. I'm not sure who wants to go first, George or James. But
George, I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. I'll take it over. What's up, guys? My name's George. I have to start with I'm a die-hard, we're going to call it Ohio sports fan. Grew up in Northeast Ohio. I attend Ohio State. I'm a Browns season ticket holder. I got on the wait list in high school with a buddy, and we've had the tickets since we were early on in college, and we maintain them today. Student at Ohio State, like I just said, so Browns, Buckeyes, Blue Jackets, Avs, even a little bit of Crew, even though I'm not a big soccer guy. I got you all covered with Ohio sports. I played high school football. I played football for over a decade. I started when I could barely walk. And I also play a lot of Madden. So when it comes to football schemes, terminology, the rule book, I just about have it all covered. And I do have to say, as an Ohio State fan, my favorite sports moment ever was the streak by Ezekiel Elliott, 85 yards through the heart of the South to beat Alabama in the first college football playoff. There's never been a play like that. There's never going to be a play like that again, in my opinion. But I'm going to let James introduce himself real quick, a fellow Buckeye of mine.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it. Yep, I'm James, the last member of the podcast group, member of the Neighborhood Watch, and I'm also a OSU student currently, hopefully to be an OSU grad, OSU alum soon. And I'm a little bit different than George and Drew. I come from the same part of Ohio as them, but I am a diehard Washington sports fan. My dad grew up in the D.C. area, Prince George's County, played football all his life. And so I grew up around sports. My whole family are huge sports fans. I was a fan of the Redskins, then the Washington football team, and now the Washington Commanders. And despite whatever happens with that team, I will stay with them, even though it's extremely painful, extremely, extremely painful sometimes. But as for my favorite sports moment, I have to say the Thanksgiving game during RG3's rookie year. I got to watch it with my grandparents in D.C. and my dad, and just watching RG3 lay up the Cowboys, Alfred Morris, just all those runs, just RG3 in the prime of his career. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget that 2012 year. It was amazing. And then as for my own sports experience, I've never played football, but I am a huge football fan. Like I said, I've been watching it my whole life. I actually did bowling with Niter. I played a little tennis as well, and I golfed as well. I'm a huge golf fan as well. So you'll definitely around major season, you'll be hearing from me about that. A big Jordan Spieth fan. So yeah, that's me. let's do this, guys.
But yeah, so again, like we all kind of said, as we've hinted at, George definitely has more actual football experience than the other one. I don't even know if we could call my year in flag football real. Like I was on one of the teams that ran those shitty trick plays to win like the Super Bowl and stuff. Like I didn't quite learn the spirit of football. I also was like a Packer. I was a Packer, so like I was totally not interested. Like I was when I found out I wasn't a Steeler, I was already out of it. Like
that's a crime. Northeast Ohio having a Packer team.
well, they had like they had 32 teams. Like they had the full NFL in our flag football division.
Flag football league.
No, I know it was crazy. It was fun. I got one 2-point conversion. I did.
Did you guys win the Super Bowl?
We did. In fact, that's when my 2-point conversion came. It was sort of like the coaches like, oh gosh, it's the end of the season now. I got to get all these other kids in.
It's really special, but it was a 10-year-old taking a handoff to the left.
Yeah, it was 10-year-old Niter taking direct snap. It was actually direct snap, and I just ran left.
You love to see it. You really do.
That'll go down in history as the Youngstown Special.
It could be. It could.
Youngstown Special.
But yeah, so we're all essentially fans of the sport, and like we said, we fervently argue with each other on a day-to-day basis about it. We all did debate together too. I don't want to get too nerdy into all that, but we like to argue. We do. And so that's kind of why we decided to come together and make this podcast. You know, we're all got a little bit of free time. We figured we might as well spend it doing something that we all enjoy and do, and put some creative effort. We definitely feel like we're going to put it out there. You know, this isn't about becoming famous or anything, or you know, amassing large viewerships. It would be cool and all, I guess. But I mean, I think I still can't wait to get our first question. I think that'll be just so fun to like have a question, you know.
No, that would be pretty cool.
And that's what it's saying.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're just trying to, we're entertaining ourselves with this conversation. If anyone else is entertained by this, great, that's awesome. But
yeah,
like Andrew was saying, we don't need to get it big. If we have one extra viewer, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I will let you guys know that James's Washington sports takes are entertaining.
Oh, that's it to stay a Washington fan as passionately as James does, you got to certainly make up some takes to keep your sanity there. You know. Yeah, George, I don't know if you have as much. You probably had a little hard time being a Browns fan too. So I want
to hear it from the 0-16 Browns fan.
I was gonna say, and I'm about to experience it. My Steelers are going through it right now.
You guys have the Commanders have the best record in this call right now.
Yeah. I was just saying, yeah. Don't start hating on the Commanders.
Yeah.
They're the hottest team in football right now.
Oh, I don't know about that. But
well, speaking of the Commanders, you want to talk about their last game, James?
No. We've got more stuff general to do, guys. Before we get into the specifics, calm down, folks.
Oh. All right. I was ready.
We were ready. We're raring to go. No, I understand. But the big thing too is
I'll dish it back to Niter.
Yeah, we're still at the top. We're still at the top of the show here, boys. But again, we're also not quite sure on length or anything. If anyone has a preference, I guess let us know. But until we get viewers yelling at us, we're just going to kind of ramble on and talk as we see fit. If y'all prefer shorter but bunched up content, we could definitely try to figure something out like that. But again, we're gonna just kind of do it and see how it goes at the beginning. And so basically, we're hoping though our episodes can follow a similar format at this junction in the road. And so we sort of have big 3 bulk portions, as we're calling them. And so the first one, we're going to start off the shows usually, like we hope. We're going to talk about last week's games, and that's where we're going to look at the games that have previously come up. So for our favorite teams, for big games and upset alerts and stuff like that. But also, we will have a community team that we'll be looking at as a podcast together. And then in the middle, for our second bulk portion, we're sort of just going to be looking at breaking news. And this could be anything from just general sports talk to injuries and fantasy. But this is where we're going to have the majority of our free and variety conversation. You know, we're obviously going to reach even out of the NFL sometimes here. But finally, our final bulk portion is where we'll look into the upcoming week ahead, and look at the Thursday night game, look at the Sunday game, look at all the different games that are coming up for the next week, make our predictions for our specific teams, for any big games that matter, and also for our watch. And then in closing, we're going to do a little fun segment that we'll talk about more when we get there, but it's going to be a little fun game for us to play week to week, to compete with each other, because we all argue about who knows the most about football. here, and George probably knows the most when you talk about technicality. But I like to think I might be the best gambler out of here. You know, I don't know in money made, but I like to consider myself a gambling prodigy. And when it comes to making these picks, I'm pretty good. I think I could light these guys up, and I hope we'll have a little fun with that. No,
I'll be honest. If you've never gambled, you've made more money gambling.
That's not true.
George's gambling is the streakiest thing I've ever seen him.
Oh, mine's very streaky. It's well, we'll get into that more later. We'll get into the gambling, but now I guess this is where we could sort of hop into that first segment. And do we want to start with our favorite teams then? Because we could focus on our 3 of last week's games if we want to start with our favorite then, and then we can move into bigs.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. George, is that cool with you?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's George or James, if y'all want to start off with your favorite teams games, we could get going into that.
George did call me out earlier.
Yeah,
so
all right, let's go into it,
happily-
James. Yeah.
So,
I'll happily start off with a Washington Commanders win, 19-13 over the Atlanta Falcons. A bit closer game than the score would suggest. Atlanta had the ball at the very end of the game with a chance to win, but once again, the Commanders' defense, one of the best units in the NFL right now. Definitely a top 10, maybe even a top 5 unit. Really came in clutch. Deron Payne tipping the pass up. Kendall Fuller coming down with an interception to seal the game. Also helped a little that Atlanta special teams caused the roughing the punter on my boy Tressway at the end there to seal the game. But yeah, it was definitely a much closer game than I would have liked. Atlanta's run game really went off. Their scheme is really good. They really know how to run the ball, but Washington had the bend no break mentality. You know, they really held firm in the red zone. Still only giving up 13 points despite Atlanta being in the red zone a lot this game. You know, Washington's own run game performed very well, especially in the second half. They had, I think, over 100 yards of rushing in the second half, which is really good. Led by Brian Robinson, to be comeback player of the year after getting shot in the knee. But yeah, they won. A takeaway from this, though, is definitely that the Washington offense, despite its success with the run game and relying on the defense, they definitely give up way too many red zone opportunities, and this game was one of them too. They take too many field goals there when they're within the 20, and if they're going to get any better this year, you know, and I think they can, they really need to start taking more advantage of those opportunities. But solid win against a team that, you know, they play hard. The Falcons are a gritty team. They're tough to beat. Play really tough. So, you know, solid win this week. Very proud.
That's
of the
what
boys.
I actually. This is going to be. I was looking sort of at the stat block for it, and I'm looking at 2 names that I like particularly follow that are both Falcons. And so, like, one name I'm particularly happy to see back in NFL rosters is Marcus Mariota. You know, I really like watching him in college. But also Cordell Patterson, I'm so happy to see him getting like touches, rushing, and getting. I got his autograph on the sports card, so it's a little biased of a take there. But did the I mean, I see the Falcons got back into it. It looks like it a little, but did Marcus look any good? If you don't mind me asking, I know that you were watching the Commanders. Probably.
Well, when Marcus was running the ball, he looked pretty good. Throwing the ball, he might not want to throw the ball.
Fair enough. And that is what they're paying him to do, though. Throw the ball. Which
about
could be
how
a
good
little...
Marcus Mariota looked. He threw an interception on the 5-yard line to lose the game.
Yeah, he had Mariota. Whenever he dropped back, he had a few good throws, but a lot of them were really bad. Mariota did not look good.
See, like, I root for him. I'm really rooting for him. I'm in his corner. I'm a Mariota supporter. But
I get it. Yeah.
We could.
Why?
I told you I watched. I remember. I don't know what playoff game it was, but I remember just seeing him come out in some like special uniform, and he like lit him up. He was doing good. I don't think they won.
I remember that playoff game. Oh no, it was the first college football playoff ever against the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2014, and he lost.
Yeah, I don't think they won,
baby.
but I still had a good time watching him. You know, like he's a name that I've been familiar with.
Terrible. So to summarize what James said, Atlanta lost the game. Washington didn't really win.
Fair. Yeah.
Hey, you have to play good. You have to play good defense to win the game.
Top 5 defense in the league.
Hey, the scoreboard's all that matters, George. Scoreboard's all that matters.
They're definitely a top 10 defense. They can be top 5 at their. I mean, they have, in my opinion, the best D tackle duo in the league in Payne and Allen, and they have by PFF grade, the best safety duo since Cam Curl and Derek Forrest are, at least prior to recording this episode, the number 1 and number 2 safety in the league. So, I don't know, when you have top position
No,
groups,
they're number what?
they're the top 2 safeties in the league.
Really?
I believe PFF rankings about as much as I believe Liver King's not on steroids.
No, I thought, like, is Minka
fair
not
enough.
up there this year? I know I'm probably being biased. Is Minka not having?
Minka's a top safety. I'm just saying that's just how good
But
the
Terrell
Washington
Edmonds-
safeties have been playing.
I figured Minka would be up there. I guess I assume Minka's better than normal. He just had that
Minka's
first
really-
good season with
Minka's
us.
really good.
He had that first really good season with us. Like when we traded for him. Like
No, I think Minka's overall a top safety in the league. I'm just saying right now Washington has 2 safeties playing at top 5 level, like this year, and which is just shows how good the defense is. Along with a D line that has 3 first-round picks on it, and about to be 4 once Chase Young comes back in a week or 2.
yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, do we want to switch over to either
Yeah,
Browns
that's
or
gonna be-
Steelers talk? I mean,
Let's
we all
get
have
to the
wins
real
this week, so we should all be pretty happy.
Let's get to the real exciting game
Oh
of
god,
the week.
I don't
The
know.
Browns.
I don't know about
Crazy overtime win over Tom Brady and the fucking.
that. I'm happy about a Tom Brady loss. I'll give you that.
Let's put it like this. Joe Woods, if you guys don't know, it's our defensive coordinator that about the entire fan base has been trying to get fired all season. Might have saved his job for a few more weeks. Held Tom Brady to 17 points, got 2 stops in overtime. And we got to talk about the crazy one-handed catch by David Njoku to get the last-second touchdown on 4th and 9, 32 seconds left. One-handed snag in the back of the end zone, a dot from Jacoby Brissett to send the game to overtime. It was beautiful. I'll tell you what, the Chief has absolutely showed up this year. And I think outside of that top tier of tight ends, your Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, I think David Njoku's right there. But we got him into overtime. Sealed the game with a Nicholas Jamal Chubb touchdown run right up the gap. We had a huge catch by Amari Cooper, and it just feels like Kevin Stefanski has the locker room back right now. It feels like it's an incredible time to be a Browns fan and a Browns player.
Did he ever lose the locker room though? Like I thought.
Yeah, I felt like
the
they
offense has
kept it,
always
yeah.
been really good. Like
In the middle of the season here, we lost 5 of 6 games. Some players looked frustrated. There were some tweets sent out. It was rough there for a little while. We lost a couple games that you don't want to lose, like Atlanta. I mean, the Jets have looked good this year, but you don't want to
imagine losing to Atlanta.
listen. I don't want to hear it. We have no interior defense. Our interior defense is the worst in the NFL, and that's not an exaggeration.
yeah. You have Myles Garrett though. I mean, he more than makes up.
You know, Myles Garrett is great when you got to rush the passer on 3rd and 9. And it's 2nd and 5, and they're throwing the ball up the middle in the A gap, running behind Derek Watt. Myles Garrett ain't doing nothing. Tommy Togiai's 10 yards down the field on his fucking on his butt, wishing he was still an Ohio State Buckeye playing against Iowa and Northwestern.
I mean, fair enough, but I definitely think and George, I've talked to you about this. Like, I think Joe Woods probably should be still fired after this year. If we're looking at any sort of consistency from the defense, but like he really did throw a game together. Like you guys actually looked like the team knew how to play both defense and offense for once. Because I thought your offense has been pretty good overall, but the defense is what struggled. And you had a full game. Like it was a solid game by you guys.
Tom Brady 2 times in overtime. You can't ask for more than that. And really, my player of the week, not just because it's a Cleveland Brown, but across the NFL is Art Emerson, our rookie corner. Locked down all game against Mike Evans. 0 catches for 0 yards for Mike Evans and the Browns Buccaneers.
Bro, Mike Evans is just having a bad season though. Like, is Mike even done anything all year?
I don't really think he's having necessarily a bad season. At least fantasy-wise, he's had some good weeks. And he's a big dude.
Probably bad for him.
When you saw him standing next to Emerson, he's way bigger than Emerson. Like, way bigger. But Emerson just had him on an island all day. And we weren't throwing help over there. It was Emerson all day, one-on-one against Evans. And he just did a phenomenal job. And I think our pass rush really showed up, and that helps the corners a lot, obviously. But Mike Evans didn't have time to get deep. But Just so happy to see that third round pick paying off like that at corner. I really think the Browns secondary, when they put it together, is one of the best in the league. Denzel Ward's the highest paid corner in the league, multiple time Pro Bowler. M. Jefferson's playing incredible. Greg Newsome, the first rounder last year out of Northwestern's, had a good start to his NFL career, a bump here and there. And then Greedy Williams is your fourth corner. I know he's not the best guy in the league, but when he's your fourth string cornerback, you really like that depth there.
I mean, that's fair.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not. I know I'm critical of the Browns, but the Buccaneers seem to be getting worse and worse by the week. Like, they're falling
The
apart.
Buccaneers are really hurt.
Like this, Tom Brady is having such a bad on retirement that it's like pitiful. It's pitiful.
He really is.
It's pitiful.
Bad. But I mean, like, they lost their center at the beginning of the year. I think they lost. Then they lose their left tackle in the middle of the game, or was it their right tackle?
Oh,
I don't.
Attack in the middle of the game.
I do my best not to watch Tom Brady.
Christian Wirfs has been on and off.
I know Fournette's been hurt because that's been hitting my fantasy team hard at least.
Yeah, Fournette's been hurt. They lost Kappa to Cincinnati, right? That was their guard last year. I mean, they've just had a lot of turnovers.
Evans is dropping easy. What was that one? It was a couple weeks ago. Evans dropping the wide open tutty. Like it was just so it was so uncharacteristic of him.
Here's the crazy part. We've said the Buccaneers right now, right? If you think about it, they're in the worst division by far in football. They're still going to sneak into the playoffs with a home game. Now we're talking Tom Brady's going to have a home game.
Yeah, but I want that. That's a bye round in my opinion right now.
You want to know who it's going to be against, though? There's one of three quarterbacks it's probably going to be against. It's going to be against Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Dak Prescott.
Give me Danny Dimes.
You're leaving out the team in the seventh wild card spot right now. You're leaving out Taylor Heineke.
My bad. Or Taylor Heineke. Yeah, and we're taking Tom Brady to the playoffs against any of those guys.
I mean, but let's look at
George. Let's look at the year. Let's look at Tom Brady's quarterback matchups this year. Okay, let's look at Tom Brady's quarterback matchups this year.
I mean, I'm just talking in hypotheticals real quick. Let's say he gets through that round. Then he gets one of Jalen Hurts, who he killed last year in the playoffs. He could get a
Jalen Hurts, a different beast this year.
Who's a whatever, or Kirk Cousins, who the second the lights come on and he's in prime time can't do anything.
No, George, I'm with you. Putting Brady in a playoff situation.
No, dude. Let me go real quick down. Can we just literally go down the Buccaneers schedule? So week one, Dak wasn't there, right?
Dak he was there. He got hurt in the middle of the game, right?
Yeah, so week one. I'll give you that. They win against half Dak, but that's their win. Week two, they win. It's the Saints, so that's probably Jameis at this point, right? All right, you're supposed to beat Jameis. They go to lose against the Packers. A-Rod beats them. They go lose against Mahomes. Mahomes beats them. They go to the Falcons, and I get you're supposed to beat them there. But young gun Kenny Pickett comes and beats the Buccaneers. Then the Panthers. Then Baker Mayfield and his poverty franchise down in Panther land beats them.
Dude, I'm pretty sure P.J. Walker beat Tom Brady.
Then Lamar Jackson beats him, who I already have my critiques of as a quarterback.
I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan.
I'm not. I don't buy into his arm. And he's good, don't get me wrong. Would I take him in Pittsburgh right now? God, yes. But, like, would I build my future franchise around him? Probably not.
Yes.
I agree with Nider. I completely agree.
And then they beat the Rams, but the Rams are bad this year as well. And then they go and beat the Seahawks. Like what you say, Geno Smith. But I'm telling you, it's hard to beat the same team twice in a year.
Listen, all I'm saying is, like, in George's hypothetical here, right? He's either playing one of the NFC East teams aside from the Eagles in the first round, or the Seahawks, right?
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, you can mock the Commanders all you want. They gave Brady his toughest game and during a Super Bowl run. And Taylor Heineke beat him last year.
That's true. No, that's my thing. Brady's beatable. Brady is no longer infallible.
All I'm saying is there's a world where Tom Brady plays Daniel Jones and then Geno Smith to get to an NFC Championship game.
That's true, and I agree. It's sad in general, but like I think the Giants can beat them, and I think the Seahawks can beat them. But we're talking a lot about Tom Brady for how much we hate on him.
I think a lot of teams. I think any team can beat any team in this league, especially this year. But
I don't know. The Eagles look pretty nasty.
The whole premise of this, though, is you guys counting the Buccaneers out. The Buccaneers have the Buccaneers have a silk road to the NFC Championship. Figure their shit out.
Yeah, we can talk future Buccaneers. We can talk future Buccaneers later, though. I think we need to.
I think we need to talk about the Steelers, Cole.
No, yeah, we need to get on with the we need to get on with the rest because we still got big game. We got neighborhood watch to talk about too. So.
Nighter, you gotta talk about the Steelers a bit.
So the Steelers, let's be honest, is a Steelers-Colts game. There's not going to be much to talk about anyways, but the boys walk away with a dub. You know, as we close in on Mike Tomlin's potential, I'm not giving up hope yet, potential first losing season. It's scary saying that. It's scary when, like, the bar for failure is a losing season in Pittsburgh. You know, that's how spoiled I am. But... You know, the first half, it's another example of, like, the Steelers. It's weird. They either don't play the first half at all, and then they, like, are the comeback kings, or they play the first half and then don't play the second half at all. Like, the Steelers can only play one half of football, and I don't quite understand why. But, you know, that first half, I think there's a lot of good things to look at on both sides of the ball. Matt Ryan looks god-awful. Oh, my God. That guy looks bad. But at least Jonathan Taylor's picking things up a little bit for the Colts. But George Pickens made a couple really good catches that, like, continue to impress me. I really think he's going to be our receiver one either next year or the year after. Deontay finally had another good game, too. Like, he really came out and started catching difficult balls for the first time. It's the first time I've watched Deontay and been, like, not Butterfan. Like, geez, I felt confident that he was going to catch the ball when he got thrown the ball. And I get that I'm a little critical of Deontay, but, like, there's been some really bad drops in the last couple of years for him.
No, I mean, I think it's fair to be critical of Deontay this year because his year this year has just been really bad by a number. Like, he's the number one receiver in Pittsburgh, and his year has been terrible. I don't think he has a touchdown this year.
No, he doesn't.
Which is
Still
incredible.
doesn't. Still doesn't. Nope. Well, the thing is, like, I don't mean to be... Steelers are scoring touchdowns this year. How many we have, like... I think we might have, like, 10 touchdowns this year. Like, we're
one of my favorite. This is actually, I think it was my favorite NFL stat till it was finally broken a week or two ago. But about 10 weeks through the season, the Steelers' longest touchdown play, 8 yards. So you would not score a touchdown from further than 8 yards.
No, we got like a 25-yarder. I remember that broke it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's incredible. That's so bad.
No, but the thing is,
bad.
I really think Todd Haley just needs, like, it's the same play calling every week again. I guess I'm.
Isn't that Canada?
Yeah. Canada. I can't stand the man, but, like, I listened to a bit of McAfee, and, like, even the Steelers guys on there are the same way. It wasn't even them talking about the Steelers. I think it was somebody else talking about their team, but, like, the way they vocalized it sounded the exact same way I feel about the Steelers. Like, it's a shame that I sit down on a Monday before the game and I'm gonna be like, this is exactly what's gonna happen, and then it does, you know. Like, it's a shame the Steelers can't just go win a game. Like, they really can't.
I will say that I hate saying this because I despise the Steelers with all my heart. I watched Kenny Pickett on that last Monday night game against the Colts, and I said,
that was
the first game I've watched him, and I said, that's our future quarterback.
That was a really good game for Kenny. Kenny, there's a couple critiques I have, and the one is, I think everyone's been critiquing his reliance on Freiermuth. And he's resorted to just not passing to Freiermuth at all as a result. And I don't think that's the thing. But the thing is, you definitely notice it when he is stressed in the pocket. He looks for Freiermuth. Like you saw it on the one red zone drive at the end where Freiermuth dropped the ball. Like, he got jumped on the route. Like, when things are tight, Kenny just chucks it to Muth. Like, which is good. Yeah. He's probably the biggest. Now that Claypool's gone, he's probably your biggest catcher, I'd have to assume.
Yeah, I mean, predictability can be a bad thing, but I think if you have a target like that.
No, but my point, I haven't seen it since Heath Miller's been on the team. Why can't the Steelers throw an inside slant? Why can't they just put Freiermuth tell them to run 10 yards straight and then go diagonal or flat in. Why can't we do that? Like, Steelers are the only team I know when it's 3rd and 9 that you can guess 50% of the time they're throwing behind the line of scrimmage. It doesn't make sense to me at all. And there's more deep throws. There's more deep throws. They're definitely throwing the ball deep more. Like, we're getting those opportunities more. But now that Claypool's gone, nobody's beating anyone streaking down the sideline. So we just like...
You really don't.
Well, I think Pickens is taking that role.
But
Sorry, George, you can go.
But no, he's taking the role, but we don't call those plays. We don't send him down the sideline.
I want to return to this tight end point real quick, and you were kind of saying Penny was relying on Freiermuth, and they're moving away from it. I think quarterbacks being reliant on tight ends is a good thing, and I think if you look at the most successful quarterbacks ever, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, Peyton Manning and Dallas Clark, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
No, but even look to Pittsburgh. If we could have a Ben Roethlisberger, Heath Miller connection again, we'd go to a Super Bowl. I'm telling you, bro.
There's a reason your whole stadium chants.
No, I know. That's my point. Because tight ends can eat up the middle if you put them there.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think Pickett going to Freiermuth, in the clutch situations is good. It's like the Mahomes-Kelsey thing, obviously a lesser version of that, but it's the same idea like George was saying. But I still think, Snyder, you're kind of right when, like, you can't just be targeting him the whole game because then it does become predictable.
Oh, and I don't mean
then
that.
If the defense stops it.
My point is I'd like us to find the firm medium. Freiermuth shouldn't be getting 2 catches, but he also shouldn't be getting 12. You know?
No,
like he should be getting somewhere in between there.
He needs to connect with Deontay and Pickens way more than and I think he's learning.
The passing game all around, honestly, just needs to improve. And I think a lot of that right now is play calling. Because the only plays you actually see us catching routes on are the 5-yard runbacks. And I know we were talking about that, but the play that Deontay ran back 7 yards and lost the first down 2 weeks ago, I almost ripped my TV off the wall. Like,
he did something kind of similar this week where
he does. No, George, he does it every week. Deontay runs 5 yards back every ball. I watch the highlights of the Steelers all year. It's been a thing, but like James had him, and he saw the play that I'm talking about a couple weeks ago, where like he caught the ball 6 yards ahead of the first down, and then just ran backwards, and then it was second down.
Like I'm fine with the receiver being like, all right, let me
crafty,
cut back and up around, like to get more space. But like, you don't lose the first down if you do that. Like, don't run back far enough to where you're losing the first down, dude. Like, take the yards.
I remember watching that live, being so fervently mad. But overall, good game for the Steelers. We pick up a Monday night dub. Honestly, like I'm very surprised they kept us on Monday night. They've been moving us around a lot. But people like watching Kenny. I think the people like watching Kenny. I think people are starting to buy.
Taken in the draft, so it's a big.
No, that's the thing.
It's a franchise. Actually, if you saw at the beginning of the game, they said 43% of the fans in attendance were Steelers fans.
Oh well, that's just Steelers. That's just Steelers. Steelers Nation shows up every. Do you remember a couple of years ago when the Chargers played Renegade at their COVID stadium and it was 70% Steelers capacity, like, and they played Renegade, our home chant song, away, like.
Outside of those LA teams, though, where it's more of a tourist attraction than a fan base, like, that's not very usual to see a couple Midwest, East Coast teams traveling at 43%. It's impressive, especially.
No, yeah, for sure. But I like to say, if you told me one team was showing up that big, I'd guess the Steelers.
That's fair.
And any team playing Washington at home,
maybe the Cowboys or the Patriots.
Tell you what, the Browns, they travel, and there's also the stat. From last season's games, Browns 99.2% of seats filled across every home game last year.
Oh, they're cheap. Who wouldn't want to go but watch a Browns game for $10?
Well, hey, they're not like that no more. It's not like this. Trust me, I'm a season holder. I wish the game for $10.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, now we can talk either the big game or the neighborhood watch game that we have. But I say we probably should go to the big game next. We don't have to talk that much in depth into it, but it was a shootout. I have it selected as the Eagles-Packers game this week. Like, I watched that game, and it's sad to see Aaron go down. Like, I'm running out of childhood quarterbacks to watch. You know, Ben's gone.
On there, man.
It's a new generation.
No, it is, but like, I thought A-Rod might have a few more years, but like, I listened to a bit of his injury, and we'll talk more about that later. But seeing him go down, I was just like, oh no, not the A-Rod era. No, I'm not ready for the A-Rod era to be over. But
we got the back end of Favre in our childhood.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Don't get me. I loved watching Favre.
We had Manning, we had Rodgers. Well, back end of Manning, we had Rodgers. We had Breeze. Breeze was a fun one.
Good one has been around for a while.
But
Matty
yeah,
Ice.
Yeah.
Right.
but
Matty,
also,
dude, I used to love watching Matty Ice. He used to be one of my favorite QBs
keeping
in Atlanta.
quarterbacks. Important quarterback show up with Aaron Rodgers going down though. Jordan Love coming in, 6 passes for 113 yards with 1 tutty.
I will say I don't want to diminish his game, but Eagles were up multiple scores in the fourth. They were in a deeper zone. Don't let up any big plays, and they still let up a big play. It was just a slant to Christian Watson that went for a lot of yards, but he really looked good out there.
No, he looked like he had control. He looked like he could manage the game when Rodgers went down, and that's what you have him there for. I mean, I mean, the thing is, we're talking Packers. We've only talked Packers here, and they're the losers. Eagles put up 40.
Before we go into the Eagles real quick, I just want to say about Jordan Love. I honestly, if Aaron Rodgers is, because he has like that oblique injury now, and he has the thumb, he's had a broken thumb for weeks.
And they're saying maybe like a lung injury now too.
Yeah, I mean,
or chest or something.
At this point, like, just let Jordan Love play. Like, even if he ends up being bad.
Oh, I don't know.
Even if George is right, and because I agree. I think the Eagles
we have this debate
defense.
set up later. I think in the injury talk.
We'll get into a little bit more. I mean, we could just do it now. I mean, but anyway, I think the Eagles were playing soft defense. I think that they really did. Like, Jordan Love had the opportunity to pick them apart. But I want to see him more consistent before I say, like, oh, because like there are people out there being like, oh, you gotta start him over Aaron Rodgers. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is done. Maybe this is like the Peyton Manning year where Peyton Manning looked awful and couldn't play again. Maybe that's it. But I think you got to give Jordan Love the rest of the year and let Aaron Rodgers recover, because you got to see if Jordan Love can play, and Aaron Rodgers is hurt anyway. And no offense, the Packers aren't going to the playoffs this year. Like, sucks for a lot.
That's not true. It's not statistically. It's not impossible yet.
They have lost against almost every team that they need.
Yeah, but if they run the table, they're still in it technically. They need other teams to lose. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like a walk-in anymore.
I think, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I actually agree with James here. Let Rodgers, at least for a few weeks, let him heal up a little bit.
You're gonna lose Rodgers. Rodgers isn't the type of guy to heal up. We were talking about it a bit before the podcast. He went on McAfee's show and he says he wants to play. I don't mean to be like that. Rodgers is giving me a bit of a diva vibe this kind of off season. With it, he's kind of become that ayahuasca man. He's become the hippie man in the mountain. He's been memed a lot this off season, and I don't think people are taking the man as seriously as he is for the record and history that man has. You got to remember, they gutted the man's favorite shiny weapon in Davante Adams. The guy has nobody to throw to.
I mean, in fairness, they offered Davante Adams a better contract than the Raiders, and Davante Adams wanted to leave. So
don't get me wrong. Oh, don't get me wrong. I agree. The Packers aren't performing as well as they should. Like,
Here's my hot take. Start Love the rest of the year. Start Rodgers for the rest of the year. Start half and half. At the end of next year, Aaron Rodgers will not be a Green Bay Packer.
I agree.
Ooh.
I agree. I see. That's a bet. See, but that's my point. That's why I say you play Aaron. Because if you don't play Aaron here, if you bench Aaron now, Aaron is going to get angry. And when Aaron gets angry, Aaron played football. And Aaron will get some fuel in his system. And I'm telling you, he'd come to Pittsburgh. He'd come coach up the young gun in Kenny Pickett 1 year.
You're already out on Kenny Pickett. You want Aaron Rodgers.
Wow. I don't think you trade for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think if a team's going to do it, it's probably the Jets.
I don't think do we have to trade for? Is this his last year?
No, he's on a 2. He's getting paid like $50 million the next 2 years.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. I thought it was like I figured this was his last contract year.
No, yeah, he has 2 more years on his contract. Like, he's making money. Like a team that's traded for him has to have cap space and a good roster. That's why I threw out the Jets.
Detroit Lions.
You know what? The Lions might be a good fit for him. I think that'd be funny.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, maybe they
Hear me out.
could.
He would never
If
go.
there's a human being that's the opposite of Aaron Rodgers, it's Dan Campbell. Aaron Rodgers wants to go to Brazil and smoke some ayahuasca, and Dan
No, but
Campbell's
hear me
ready to
out.
get
I think I know a better place where you could do that. I think they would have. I think they might even be able to get the trade for it if they send a weapon or two over. Especially, I know he owns the city, but hear me out. What if he went and played there?
Oh my God! No.
What if he went and played there? Hear me out.
Not after the year Fields has had, dude. Not
Well-
after the year Fields.
Well, is it Fields is hurt?
Yeah, but like.
But that's my point. Is what if?
We'll talk about Fields later, but I think Fields has played well enough.
Oh, I agree, but that's why I think the Bears could get Rodgers and picks for Fields.
But you already have. I mean, I guess if Jordan Love isn't the answer, but like, I just think you have to let. I think at the end of the day, you let Rodgers heal.
Jordan Love, though.
What?
The Packers are bought in on Jordan Love, though. Obviously, they spent a first-round pick on the guy.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
there's no way they're paying him starter money yet. And if they can wait another year to avoid paying him starter money and give him a year behind another QB who they think they could take it for a little bit.
Well, I think he's in a contract year, so like I'm pretty sure like either they either got to pay him something or let him go, and I feel like a team is going to be willing to pay him probably more than.
Love is still sitting there. Love has another year or two on his rookie.
I was gonna say, I
Is this
think-
his 4th year in the league.
No,
This is his 4th year.
This is his second year behind Rodgers.
Yeah.
There's no way this is his 2nd year. It's either his 3rd or his 4th.
Drafted. When was Jordan Love drafted? 2020.
So year 3. No, this would be
So
year
it's,
2.
so it's his 3rd year.
No, he was
it's
drafted
year
in
3.
2020, so he played in 2021.
Played 20. Well, he played 20 to 1, and then 21 to 2. So this is his 3rd year.
Oh,
It's usually-
okay, yeah.
Okay.
It's usually 4 years with a 5th-year option on rookie deals.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're either going to have to pick up his option or not. Okay, so
But that's
Oh,
what I'm
I still
saying.
think-
After this year, he'll have another year and then the option.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to hear me out. If they traded for Rodgers, you have 2 years of Fields. You have 2 years of potential success, and then if Fields doesn't work out after this injury, if it's bad, or long term or anything like that. That's kind of my worry with Fields. I'm worried
This
Fields
will
is going to
never
break.
happen because the Bears
I'm worried
aren't in-
Fields is going to get RG3'd if he stays in
okay.
Chicago.
Being
I
a
want him out of
being a
Chicago.
Being a Washington fan, I'll tell you, there's the chance of it, but there's 2 reasons I think why he won't. First of all, he's way more physically built than RG3 was. RG3 had a very lean build, and Fields is much more built. The other thing is that Fields knows how to slide and not take hits. RG3 did not know how to.
No, but I've seen Fields play so passionately, and like he tries even when they have no chance and they're probably winning. Like he gives it their all, which I respect. But like at some point, like the dude's getting hurt and he's gonna keep getting hit, like the way he runs. And
I mean, sure, but like I feel like the NFL is moving to a point now where like mobile QBs are just the norm. Like maybe not like how Fields is running and how Lamar.
that's
runs,
my point.
but I feel like
It's
you have
Fields
to
and
have
Lamar feel
mobility.
like they run a bit more than they need to.
Yeah, and maybe, but I still think Fields definitely is not like he's not the same injury risk as RG3. I think RG3 just because of his body type was a much bigger injury risk.
Right.
But anyway, I think we should honestly move because we kind of got off track with the.
Yep, we've got one more.
Bears.
We've got one more
I
big
think we need to talk
game.
the Eagles a little bit here. The Eagles a little bit.
Oh
because
yeah,
didn't talk
that's
Eagles.
yeah.
I think we got to give them their due because
Yeah, I
Even
can't.
though-
We got onto him a little bit, but then we kept going. Yeah, back to the
Yeah.
Eagles putting up 40, breaking.
Yeah, I
George was
interrupted
mentioning
you.
they were breaking records out here. Like this game was crazy. You know, I was disappointed. This is going to be a little bit of a fantasy take, but I have Hurts and my opponent had Miles Sanders, and they both put up 30. And it was like, I look at that and I'm just like, it would be so fun to watch my team do that. I wish my team could score that many. I wish the Steelers would put up 40 in a game. I don't think they're going to get over 35. What is the
What was more
Steelers' highest scoring?
Watching the Eagles lose, that was more fun.
That's
the Commanders.
That's true.
Go,
But
Commanders, baby.
I think the Eagles are going to go deep. Like, I think I have them going to the playoffs. I have them going deep in the playoffs. I have them going to the Super Bowl. I might even have them winning the Super Bowl, depending on the matchup.
I don't know if I have them going to the Super Bowl, but they're one of the top. They're a top 2 team right now. Like, I think only the Chiefs are better than them in my eyes. Like, they're
Their
one of the
offense
best
is
teams
just
in the
so
NFL.
nice. They have so many people. Olave's going balling out. AJ Brown.
You mean Devonta Smith?
Oh yeah. Isn't AJ Brown also there? Am I getting
No,
that
AJ
mixed up?
Brown's there, but Olave's on the Saints.
Oh, Olave's on the Saints. Devontae Smith. Yeah, wrong young guy. You're right.
No, you're good. You're good. But George, you have anything to add to this Eagles praise?
Because geez, they were balling out. They were balling out on the budget. Not even on budget. They that's what I'm saying. It feels like the Eagles shouldn't be allowed to have this many good players.
I mean, that's what happens when you have a QB on a rookie deal, man. I mean, look at Mahomes back when he won the Super Bowl. Like, his team was stacked. I mean,
and they go play the Titans next week too. They're all right. Well, we got one more game to talk about last week, so let's get that done. Let's get that. We're on to our community. We can describe this a
real
little.
quick. George is back. George had to really go to the bathroom.
No worries. What's George's Eagles take? Eagles take.
George has some Eagles takes real quick. First of all, it was an incredible performance by them. They broke a single game rushing record that was set in 1949 with 363 yards on the ground. Jalen Hurts is the first ever NFL quarterback with 100 yards on the ground in a quarter. He had 125 and 125 and a half. That's just incredible. But the Eagles aren't winning the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
You want to know why?
Why?
Gardner Johnson, their corner who was leading the league in interceptions, just ruptured his spleen. He's a massive loss and exposes a little bit of a hole that the Eagles had last year, which is somewhat of a weak secondary.
That's true, but I don't see the Eagles losing a shootout.
The Eagles, they're not made for a shootout. I know they scored 40 points this week, but the Packers' defense has been terrible this year. They scored 40 points.
They scored 35 on the Steelers, D.
They score those on the ground, though. You don't win on the ground in shootouts. That team does not want to get in a shootout with Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes. I can promise.
I disagree. I think Eagles whoop the Bengals in a shootout, especially because they actually have a run game, whereas I think the Bengals' run game is much weaker.
No, it's weaker than the Eagles, but it's not weak.
Oh, Joe Mixon. I'm not saying it's weak. Joe Mixon ain't weak by any means. But we've got anything else? Because we've got one more community. We got to explain the community team.
I am excited about, and I think we can start by explaining the neighborhood watch team, the community team.
Yeah,
so we give one big old
Duval. Give it to Duval. My dad's gonna get so angry when he hears me shouting that around here, but. Yeah, we've decided for the Neighborhood Watch Party podcast that we are going to have a neighborhood watch team throughout the year. You know, me and George are definitely a little more opposed than James is to us, but with the innate conflict that exists within our friend group, we've decided to try to find a team that we could all unanimously watch. That's fun to watch, but not necessarily, top of the line. It's not like we're gonna just hop on the Eagles 10-1, just start Eagles fans, fly Eagles fly. That's not what we're gonna do. We're not about that. But we've selected the Jaguars, as was obvious by Duval. We're gonna be watching the Jaguars. It's not even so much about the culture for me. I'm just really into watching the Golden God, Trevor Lawrence, light up people. But even more particularly for this week, I think it's real exciting for me and George to talk about it. Because the Ravens get handed another big divisional loss for us in the AFC North.
Let's talk about T-Law, Trevor Lawrence, real quick. 29 for 36.
The guy's a stud.
21 yards, 3 touchdowns on no picks, and a 129.8 QB rate. Wow.
Watching Trevor Lawrence play, it was like watching everything I want Kenny Pickett to do. It was just like, why? I get he's a year later, but.
And then Doug Peterson absolutely dropped his something that hangs from a male. right in John Harbaugh's face and went for two with the game on the line, and Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones connected again for the 11th time of the game to win the game.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It was nasty. That was a good ending. I'm always happy to watch a Ravens loss, but it's even better to see them lose like that, which has been so common nowadays. What were you saying about that earlier, James?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to point out that, like, the Ravens, despite being a really good team, they just can't close out games. I mean, I think almost every game this year, I think it's like, I think every game but like one or two, they've just had a lead going into the fourth quarter, and they still lose. They still have, what, 5 losses on the year now? Like, that's ridiculous.
It's a shame the AFC North is still open with the way the Ravens have been playing.
Yeah, no, they should easily be they're 7-5. They should easily have 9 or 10 wins right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess it's 9 wins, but it's just absurd. It makes no sense.
Now I believe they're tied with the Bengals for the division right now. I don't know. I think the Ravens have the tiebreaker right now, but
yeah, they do. But I mean, I would honestly take the Bengals to win the division at this point. They just look like a better team than the Ravens. The Ravens just can't close out.
And something big for me was the Bengals have continued to win games with the absence of Jamar Chase.
That is big.
Well, they got so many. It's not big to me. That's the thing, because they've got T. Higgins and they've got what's his name? Blanking.
Boyd. They got Boyd.
Boyd. Like, that's what the receiver core has always been stacked. You take the cherry off the top of the sundae, you still got a full dessert. Joe Mixon's back there.
Beginning of the year,
the tight ends are nice, and Joe Burrow's nice with one of the best offensive lines in the league, from my understanding now, right?
Oh no!
I thought they were supposed to be good. I thought they bought in heavily. I thought that's what they did.
They still suck. Joe Burrow's the second most sacked quarterback in the league this year.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Joe Burrow's explained that. You got to remember, Joe Burrow is getting sacked because he extends plays. Joe Burrow could throw the ball away more and not get sacked as much.
I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Because I remember that was a big interview, especially when it came out that they were the number 1 in sacks, but they've been falling back. Joe put it on himself, which I get that's what you're supposed to do as a quarterback. You're not supposed to blame your O-line or anything like that, but we could talk about someone blaming things on their team if we want to in the news section, but I just feel like Burrow runs around a lot and tries to extend plays, which in turn is going to get you sacked.
I mean, sure. I still think the O-line's performing is not as good as it should be for what they paid for it.
Fair
if you watch the first game of the year against the Steelers or that Monday night game against the Browns, it was evident that if they had someone real at left tackle to block T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett, that it would have been a completely different game.
I'm going to be honest. Yeah. I've been ever since TJ's come back, I'm a little lowballed with his performance. I get that, at least it's opening up Highsmith and everyone else, but I guess we can. Yeah, we don't need to talk Steelers now. But Ravens, did they? What do the Ravens do now, though? Because they're not out of these games. In fact, they're winning them usually. Very late.
My thing with the Ravens is at least not this week. Lamar actually had a pretty good game this week compared to the last 2 weeks, because the last 2 weeks he was just playing bad. Lamar was just playing bad the last few weeks. But I don't know what it is. I mean, you would think because they've won close games. I mean, I'm going to be real with you guys. When at the end of the game, when Justin Tucker was kicking, I think it was that 67-yarder, right? 68-yarder, something like that. I really thought they were going to win because that's just how much belief I have in Justin Tucker. But, the fact that, you need the best kicker in the NFL to give you a chance to win after you were leading in the fourth quarter by a good margin, and you had possession of the ball too, and you still lost, I don't know where you go. I just think you lose so much momentum off that game. And because you lose to a team in Jacksonville that was, kind of sputtering. They're getting better, but they're a young team, new coach. Trevor Lawrence's best game of the year, in my opinion. I just think you lose so much momentum if you're the Ravens right now, and that locker room has to be furious just because of how much they've dealt with the whole year with just losing close games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you blame it on coaching? Do you blame it on execution? Do you blame it on conditioning? I mean, we could talk about strength and conditioning a little bit here. Why are your guys gassing out in the fourth quarter? But what that recipe that they've showed us this year is not a recipe to go far in the playoffs.
I mean, George,
Good at that.
that's been a contentious point with the Ravens for a long time, is how they go through their offseason and why they have so many injuries, because they go so hard in the offseason. And maybe it's just, it shows through every year, but maybe this year's just more of a year that's hitting them. I mean, you never know.
You have to ask questions there, but I've had enough to talk about those disgusting birds down there in Baltimore.
All right, yeah. Let's get on to some current stuff into that second portion of the show. We're going to get onto some more contemporary stuff happening around the league now. George, I think our first news point, the biggest news point of this week, is going to be for your team, so I'll let you take it. Because I don't know how you're going to support this. We gotta be touchy about how we talk about them, I guess.
After 2 long years, 26 civil lawsuits, and more than enough headaches for probably a lifetime. Number 4 of the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson, will be starting at quarterback this season.
That's
in Houston against his old team, the Houston Texans. Now, I want to start by saying we, as a podcast, and I'm sure I can speak for Ader and James here, do not support any of his actions, alleged actions, whatever you call it. We don't support anything.
No, not at all.
Over the last 2 years.
Stay out of the massage rooms, Deshaun.
Yeah. But what I hope we can do in this podcast is talk about him playing football. We don't support any of his past actions. We don't think highly of his character because of it. But the reality is he's starting this week for the Cleveland Browns, so I want to talk about how that's going to impact the game.
Look, at least from my end, I can do my best for that because I've been watching Big Ben Roethlisberger for, what was it, 17 years? We might have... Oh, there's James back. But... Yeah.
How about you?
No worries. But I've been watching Big Ben Roethlisberger for quite a bit now. I get he's gone now, but I get it wasn't 26 civil lawsuits or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I think we are here to talk about football, and we can't help, even if we want to disagree with what happened, or even if we oppose the decision to continue letting him play. Facts remain, he's going to be probably killing the Steelers in a couple of weeks.
So, let's talk about him on the field a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring a new element to the Browns' offense. Jacoby Brissett, he rode with a 7 for 11. Number 7, Jacoby Brissett for 11 games. So proud of what he's done. He ended, even the Browns so far in the season, the 5th highest rated team in offensive efficiency across the league, top 10 in QBR. Can't ask for more out of your backup, really. Maybe the record isn't exactly where we want it, but we've missed multiple game-winning field goals. We let up 15 points to the New York Jets in 31 seconds. That stuff was not really in Jacoby's hands, and we couldn't have asked for more of what Jacoby did. But Deshaun's bringing a whole new element to the game. Deshaun could let it fly, man. There's film coming out from practice today. That's Wednesday before his first game back, and he just has so much zip on the ball that the receivers have to get used to it. Jacoby just didn't throw the ball as hard as him. And not only that, but he has a whole running element at the quarterback position. It's kind of the new wave. You have your Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray's, Jalen Hurts. These guys are tearing apart the league right now. And Deshaun Watson really has that element. And all these play-action boots that look like they're dead when no one's open downfield, Deshaun could take off. So I expect the Browns offense to maybe start out a little rusty in the first half against the Texans. I mean, you're in week 12 of the season and you have a new guy back there at QB, but I expect this offense to operate at a whole new level with Deshaun.
And also, don't get me wrong, I think you're right, because I'm going to be honest, the Texans are going to come out here with especially their former QB, and they're going to be ready to play. They're going to be a little angry, probably.
They're going to be fired up.
Yeah, and so I definitely could see something like that, like a Browns going into the half like down 13-3, 16-3, you know, and then just steamroll in the second half, you know, just like first play, deep ball down the sideline to Amari, you know, just like something crazy like that.
Yeah, and that connection between Amari and Deshaun is going to be very interesting. Too.
That's true.
Amari coming from a new team, Deshaun not being allowed back in the facility a few weeks ago. Really going to be interesting to see how that connection unfolds and then develops throughout the rest of the season and hopefully years to come.
No, yeah, I mean, before I talk about Deshaun Watson, I just want to just say that after we're done with the Deshaun topic, I have some breaking news that just came out a few minutes ago.
Our first breaking. Oh,
we have official breaking news after this segment. But finishing the Deshaun Watson point, I agree with you guys for the most part. I think Deshaun Watson is going to, in the long term, elevate this Browns offense. He's, a very good, off the field issues aside, like we talked about, he's a very good QB, one of the best in the league when he was playing. He's taken 2 years off, though, on a new team, running a completely different offense. And I know he's had time to sit to learn it, but I think learning it is much different than executing it. So I do think for the rest of this year, not just a game, it's going to look a little ugly. I think they're gonna lean more on the run game and really not ask Deshaun to do too much early this year. I think they're just going to try and get him into it. The Browns are pretty much out of the playoffs. George, you can say what you want. They're pretty much out of it.
That is unequivocally false. According to the ESPN FPI, we have a 4.7% chance. I'm riding all 4.7%.
Yeah, no, that's the same. That was the same way, James. The Steelers actually have a higher percent than the Browns right now. I think we were at like 5.2. We're not out yet, James. We're not out, James.
Washington's in the playoffs right now, but no. Yeah, but going back to what I was saying, to me, I think this year is a developmental year for Deshaun Watson in terms of just learning the offense and learning his teammates. I think the end of this year is going to look not great. I think it's going to make a lot of Browns fans really angry because it's not going to look like this very cohesive unit out there, and I think that's going to lead to them leaning on the run game toward the end of the year. But I think what this year will prove, though, toward the end, maybe the last few games, that Deshaun Watson is going to start getting connections with his players, and come next year, I think the Browns can be a real threat because the roster's really good. If they can just get themselves a D coordinator and give Deshaun Watson, a year with the team, a full year with the team, no suspension, I think the Browns can be really, really good. But this year, there's going to be a lot of rust, and I think they're going to rely more on your boy Chubb than they are going to be on Watson.
Hey, listen, teams have had a game plan for Chubb all year, and if you've watched any Browns game, box is loaded every game, 7-8 dudes in the box. Because the fact of the matter is Jacoby couldn't really air it out. Now, it's a whole different ball game. You're not worried about just Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You got to worry about Deshaun Watson, who people forget. The last time he played football, he was all pro. Not even just Pro Bowl. He was all pro, and he was just absolutely balling out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree with the point that Deshaun Watson's a very good QB. But I think anyone that takes 2 years off of doing something, again.
Hey, Michael Vick went to jail and won MVP the next.
Yeah, but you're giving him the whole year versus you're giving Watson the tail end of this year. And also, I know Watson was there for training camp, but he wasn't allowed to be there for he wasn't allowed to be in the team practice facilities until week 11, right? Wasn't that what it was?
No, he was there all through camp, so he was with the team all summer. So they did get to build some chemistry.
Yeah, but I'm saying during the season, he wasn't allowed in the training facility, right?
He's been allowed. It's been over a month now. He's been allowed back, so he's been back for the last month.
Still, I think Michael Vick having a full then 16-game season to get you to actually play with his team, and I don't have the stats, but to me, I just feel like the first few games are going to be rough, and I feel like after that he's going to start building more chemistry, actually getting some execution, and then we'll see the Deshaun Watson that lit up the league on a 4-win Texans team.
Here's my prediction on it, and this could be the last thing on it. Maybe if you want to move on afterwards, I don't know if y'all have anything.
I want to hear this breaking news. I don't even know.
I think Deshaun's going to go either two ways. I think it's going to go really good for y'all, or I think it's going to go really bad. Because how much money did y'all pay that guy again? Is it like 200 million? 220 million?
230 million all fully guaranteed.
Yeah. Y'all
That's
better hope this thing works out, or he is going to be a cap monster. Like he's going to.
We'll trade him away for a 5th-round pick if we have to.
Yeah, give him a 4th and a 5th.
All right. Let's hear this
All right,
breaking
well,
news, though, James. Let's break it.
Breaking
I actually
news
just
came
checked
out.
Twitter, so I know what it is now, but I'm still excited.
Yeah, it came out 10 minutes ago from ESPN's reporter Pete Thamel. The Rose Bowl has agreed to an amended deal, paving the way for a college football playoff expansion as early as 2024. So we're potentially getting a 12-team playoff in 2024.
I thought we already knew that.
It was originally 2026 now.
Oh.
Yeah, we're getting this 2 seasons earlier than what we expected.
So
because
we'll have one more season of 4 teams.
Oh, my God.
We're on to the 12 team.
But that's huge, though, because
No, that's big.
This cuts the timeline. I mean, I think I don't know. I think it's better with more teams, in my opinion.
I
think the
agree.
4
I
teams
don't think anyone's going to debate that.
This year specifically,
Yeah.
Both right. This year specifically, 12 teams would have been electric.
Oh, 100%. I mean, even I was surprised.
I'm just happy because now Notre Dame can have a loss and still go to the playoffs.
Dude, a lot of teams can have a loss now. I mean, just
every team can have a loss. If you're a 1-loss team, you're going to the playoff.
Yeah, which I think is fair.
See, that's not how it was for Notre Dame for a while, though. That's not how.
To win out, yeah, because you guys are you're not in a conference.
No, but that's my point.
Weird.
Is Notre Dame had to one loss pretty much means Notre Dame's out of the top 4, but not out of the top 12.
No, yeah. Of
Like
course.
3-loss Notre Dame was almost in the top 12.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm very excited for it because if we can have this, I think the parity in college football this year has been better than it's been in a long time, in my opinion. I think is Tennessee 7 or 8? Are they the 7th or 8th team right now? They could probably be
9.
They're 9. I mean, even them at 9, right? I know Hendon Hooker's hurt, so it would be different if he was playing. But assuming he was playing, right? Assuming he didn't get hurt, that Tennessee team could probably beat anyone aside from obviously Georgia, who they lost to. They could beat anyone up there. So it's just I just think this year has so much parity that a 12-team expansion is kind of needed. Give the top 4 teams a bye and let the other ones play. I think I'm very excited for not next year, but in a year when we can actually see that and just see all these amazing games.
Let's talk about the picture a little bit this year. So, you got Georgia at 1, the team up north at 2 that will not be named by me at least. TCU at
Them
3.
dogs that pulled up to Ohio Stadium, the Michigan Wolverines.
I hate you so
Buckeyes
much.
at Ohio State, the Alabama Little Red Elephants. So we don't need to talk about 1 and 2. They could lose and they're in. That's not important. The big point of contention in this college football playoff is, well, I don't even think this is a point of contention, really. I think if USC loses, they're a 2-loss team. They couldn't beat Utah once this year. They're out.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
The big point of contention is the 1-loss TCU versus the 1-loss Ohio State. If TCU loses this game to Kansas State,
There's no argument. Yeah,
TCU's out if they lose.
Yeah.
the only way
I've
Ohio
seen
State
the
gets
opposite in professional sports media today.
What?
I've seen a lot of people making a very strong argument for TCU, and they do have more top 25 wins, and the team they've lost to, assuming they lose close, if they get blown out, I don't think it would be an argument. But let's say they lose on a last-second field goal to a team they've already beat. There is, and as a Buckeye fan, I say there's a legitimate argument for TCU. Now, do I think they should be in? No. But I think
if I'm a
Georgia
betting man-
would cry a river of joy if they saw TCU instead of Ohio State in. Absolutely.
No,
Dude,
I mean,
I'm gonna be honest, dog. I don't think you want that. I'd rather not be in the playoffs than go get dicked by Georgia if it's gonna be in hell like y'all had this week.
I think we're the only team in the country that can beat Georgia. Now listen, I know we just suffered a bad loss, but we went into halftime leading in that game, and we had a fourth quarter meltdown. It was a fourth quarter meltdown, but through a lot of that game, you watched that game and thought Ohio State was the better team, and
And then they started
think
cranking 75-yard
Georgia-
runs on you.
I think
George, I don't know about that.
time runs where we had some seniors in to get him in on senior.
I think the whole second half I was thinking Michigan was the better football team.
Anyways, Georgia's the most well-rounded team in the country. I still believe we're a more well-rounded team. I think Michigan did one thing very, very, very well in that second half, which was run the football and not won them the game. And sometimes you could win games like that, but when you're playing against a super well-rounded team like Georgia, that's not going to work. And I don't know if Michigan has the offensive firepower outside of Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards to beat Georgia. I think
sorry, no, you can go. Or George,
No, you're good,
whatever,
George.
I call me crazy here. If Ohio State and Michigan were to rematch, I think the Vegas line would be about even.
George, it's the same thing, but I was saying the same thing about the NFL games earlier. Do you know how hard it is to beat the same team back to back?
It's actually the opposite.
I just see, like,
If you beat a team once, you're more likely to beat them again.
is that true? Like, because my understanding is,
is that statistically true?
I was
don't
gonna
think
say,
that's
like, I feel like when I've listened to stats and stuff given, and I've heard coach talk about it, I've heard coaches specifically say in an interview the hardest situation to coach is a team that you've already beat that year, because you got guys in the locker room that are like, oh, we already got this dub. This dub is guaranteed. You know?
No, I'm with Nider on this one. I just think that's not true. Like, even
I mean, it might be.
I saw that statistically. Someone said. I actually heard this today, like on a podcast. I forget what I was listening to. That something like 80% of teams that beat a team the first time beat them again. And now I think that stat's probably flooded with NFL games where, like, the Chiefs beat the Raiders twice in a year because the Chiefs are the better team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about two even teams, like two teams that are, like, you know, pretty, like, I mean,
Competitive,
in
yeah.
this case, right? Like, pretty competitive. Like Michigan, Ohio State. Ohio State, in my opinion, has a better roster, but, like, Michigan can play up to them, obviously, because they beat them. Like, in that situation, I feel like the team that lost, like, is going to play way more out of their minds to win the game.
But in the game, in Buckeyes versus the team up north, both teams are playing out of their minds. First time and second time. The Michigan would not walk into that game being like, oh, we already beat these guys once, this is going to be easy. There's no way.
No, I'm not saying like that's what they're saying. It's more of a subconscious. It's that you've already beat them. You know, like, whereas before, you know, you might have had that, you know, not necessarily fear, but, you know, a little bit of like, I haven't beat these guys before. Like, you know, there's a certain uncertainty to it, which uncertainty can sometimes be better than, like, a negative.
No, yeah, I mean, Ohio State lost to Michigan last year, but I do think there was still the mindset of them going into this game that, oh, we're better, that was a fluke, we can still win. And I think that hurt them. I definitely think, like, them thinking they were the better team hurt them, because I think Michigan felt that they were the underdog, and they capitalized on every single opportunity they had in that game. And, I mean, just, like, bringing this back to, like, the initial question of, like, should TCU get in over Ohio State or not? I think Ohio State's the better team, just objectively.
Oh, yeah, if they played each other, I'm picking Ohio State 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I think they're objectively a better team. I think they have a better roster. They had a terrible loss. I'm not going to act like they didn't have a terrible loss. That was a bad loss. You can't lose at home in Columbus against Michigan. You can't do that. That's a terrible loss. However, even if you look at TCU, they've had way more close games than Ohio State. And no offense, the Big 12 is not that good of a conference. Like, they really aren't. And I think that comes into play because, you know, you have people in the committee hyping up Michigan, saying how good Michigan is, which is fair. They beat Ohio State. They deserve the hype. And if they beat Purdue, you know, Ohio State's only losses to the Big Ten champion, who, and the Big Ten is considered the second best conference in college football. And so I think at that point, I know, George, you're saying like that these like sports analysts were arguing that, you know, TCU should, you know, be in over Ohio State. There's an argument. Maybe there's an argument, but I think it's a kind of a weak one. And I think Ohio State still gets in if TCU loses.
I would be shocked if Ohio State gets in over TCU. Or the other way around, excuse me.
Yeah. If TCU gets in over Ohio State and they're both have the same record, it makes no sense.
I agree.
That's just my opinion.
And if TCU gets in over Ohio State and they have the second loss, like, I hope I wake up from my nightmare. Like,
honestly, it doesn't make sense.
All right. Next,
But
James,
yeah,
I
we can
think
move
if we want to get off the CFB, we've got a little QB controversy over in your neck of the woods.
yeah. I mean, we'll be quick on this. I mean, obviously, if you've been paying attention to football a little bit, Taylor Heineke has the starting job over Carson Wentz. He's had it since they played the Bears in they had it since the Bears game. Carson Wentz played the Bears game and got hurt in that game. Since that game, Taylor Heineke's been the QB, and I believe Heineke's won 5 games now. He's 5-1, I believe. In his starts, I could be a game off on that. But the controversy here is that I know Heineke was named the starter, and I, as a fan, believe Heineke should stay in over Wentz. I think he gives the team more mobility. He knows the offense better. I know his arm isn't as good, but I just think he's a clutch player. He delivers when he needs to. The issue is, though, with Heineke is that his stats aren't very good, and it's very clear he's not the future answer. And Rivera, Ron Rivera, head coach of the Washington Commanders, was talking to a reporter, Albert Breer, I believe he's for ESPN, and what he was saying was it's a week-to-week situation between Heineke and Wentz, meaning that if Heineke plays bad enough that they lose, I think Wentz gets the start over Heineke, and while I think there's a lot of people who believe that Heineke has more of a leash than just losing one game. But I've watched Heineke's interviews the last 3 weeks, especially the one last week specifically. He's acknowledged in every game that he should play better. But in the last game specifically, he was asked what it means to him to be the starter, and he was very emotional about it and being I need to play better. And I think that just shows the amount of pressure on him. And he knows that if he messes up one time in this stretch, that Wentz is coming back in, especially when they're going into the bye week after this week. If he loses this Giants game this week, I think there's a real chance Wentz comes back. And even though I don't want that, I think it's a legitimate possibility.
And the Giants game is going to be a tough one.
It's going to be an important game in division, late in the year, huge playoff implications.
It's a very important game.
I think Ron Rivera, or Riverboat, has the exact wrong take on how to handle this quarterback situation. I think saying you're going to take it week by week is the worst thing you could say here. Because you're a team if the playoffs started today, you're in the playoffs. You as a head coach need to say, this is my guy, this is going to be my guy the rest of the year, and this is going to take my team to the playoffs. If you're wishy-washy and benching a quarterback because of 1 or 2 bad games, and you're this close to the playoffs, and you're right here on the fringe of this as the 7th seed, you're not going to win. You're not going to win games in the regular season. You're going to keep yourself out from the playoffs. Or if you sneak your way in, you're going to lose in the playoffs because you don't even know who your damn starting quarterback is yet. Lay down the law, pick a guy, and stick with him.
I think it's hard to do, though, when you have a guy as talented as Carson Wentz coming off an injury.
Yeah, I mean, the issue.
He's had some rough years. He's had some rough years. I agree with the mentality, sure, but I don't think it's so much a cut and dry, especially with the way Heineke sort of. I mean, he's good. He performs sometimes, but he's by no means spectacular.
No, and I agree. I mean, I hear both points. I've dealt with this effing QB controversy since Wentz. He's technically not activated off IR yet, but he could be activated, I think, either Thursday or Friday. But the issue is like what George is saying is Heineke has that it factor, and but he has the locker room. The locker room wants to play for him, and I don't think they'd be mad if Wentz got chosen. If Heineke lost and Wentz got the job back, I don't think there'd be a huge controversy there. But I think George is right where you have to just choose a QB and stick with them, because I think you just have to establish you've established a winning formula in Washington. They've won 6.
No, and that's I think you sort of needed to not be as. I think you could still say I think going forward our guy's Heineke, but I mean if Wentz starts performing really well in practice or something, you could be wishy-washy but still be a little more definitive.
Any room to be wishy-washy, and I don't care how hard that decision is. You're the head coach of an NFL team. It's a decision you have to make, but you have
but you got to look at every possibility too.
You have to let your guys know this is going to be the guy. We're 12 weeks into the season. We know Ron Rivera knows what both of these guys are capable of. He knows what both their skill sets are. There's not more to find out. There's no pages left to flip in the book. He just has to make a decision.
Well, that's my point is if Wentz didn't get injured, would he have been replaced?
I don't
Maybe.
think so.
There's a chance. There's a world.
But that's my
think
point is if you're saying the mentality that you're saying, George, Wentz would have the job.
And that's fine, but
My point is the only reason Heineke got in is because Wentz is hurt. And if Wentz was
when you're practicing for a wild card playoff game, you can't be splitting reps between two starting quarterbacks, getting half the reps with your starters for five.
the point is I'm not saying split the reps. I agree you need to make a starter, but I don't think you need to be definitive on it. Because the thing is you could have Heineke go play the whole next game and still say the wish you like it. The point is I think is you got to take all your options. Like if you think it's possible at all that Wentz could perform more than Heineke, I don't see a problem with the wishy-washiness.
I just think
Wentz can perform more than Heineke. Put him in. I think
Well,
wishy-washy.
I think the issue is he's coming off an injury. That's why it's wishy. Like Wentz would be our. If Wentz were perfectly healthy, he would be our guy. But we don't know if he's perfectly healthy. Wentz is a question mark.
I don't think Ron Rivera being a question mark over Wentz's health anymore. I think Wentz could have played last week. I think
He's on IR.
Wishy-washy. Yeah, because they left him on that. I think
yeah,
for
they could have.
the roster
He was on a
spot.
4-week IR. They could have activated him, but they didn't.
I think Rivera's being wishy-washy because he genuinely doesn't know who could win him more games.
No, and honestly, it's a fair question because
I think but that's my point. I think it's a fair question. I don't
It's a
think.
fair
but I
question
think-
that needs an answer
But I think
now.
George is, I think George is right though in terms of like you just got like, in my like Heineke might be the worst option in terms of a pure talent standpoint. But the way I stand is like they've won 6 games with Heineke. Like they beat the Eagles with Heineke, and even though Heineke makes some mistakes, he runs the offense more efficiently. The offense has looked better since he's been in, and now I'll give Wentz his credit. Washington has changed the offense since he's been hurt. They changed from more of a pass-heavy scheme to a run-heavy scheme. So maybe that skews it for Heineke. But that being said, I think like George said, you just got you have a winning formula. You stick to the option. I don't like that it's even a possibility for Wentz to come back. And I really think the only reason that there's a chance for him coming back is because of how much money they're paying him this year, and they want to see if they're going to keep him next year or not. But I don't think that's what you should care about. I think you need to care about the right now. And right now, you have a chance to make the playoffs. If they win 3 of their next 5 games, they're in the playoffs. Like it's secure if they win 3 games, in my opinion. I don't think anyone can catch them. So like, I don't think you mess with it now. And if they do, I just think it's a bad coaching.
Oh yeah, my biggest thing is playing football, watching football, knowing football. If you're in week 12 of your season and you don't know who your guy is yet, it doesn't allow for your offense to fully click and develop their chemistry and get to the place they need to get to, once you make the playoffs, go win a real game.
100% agree.
So I guess just the situation I think of then, George, is you remember the Duck Hodges year.
Yeah, when you guys lost to the Browns in the playoffs.
Yeah. Big Ben was out that entire year.
Oh, not the entire year.
Yeah, he came in for the playoff game.
Did he?
Wait, what year are you talking about?
I
Is that
think
about
that
the
was,
undefeated year?
that was
No.
like, you guys started 11-0.
No, that's not the Duck Hodges year. That's the year after.
Oh, you're talking about like the 8-8 year where you guys like almost made it but didn't. Okay. all right.
Yeah. There was a big talk going on that 8-8 year. Because Tomlin, even though Big Ben was coming back, Tomlin was saying, we might go with our guy, like who's been playing all year. I respect Tomlin as a coach. My thing is, when you have a guy coming off injury, I think it's hard to be certain about him.
What I think you need to be. I don't care how hard it is.
I think the situation's different though because like in that just because Big Ben is a Hall of Fame QB that's been on that team
that's
for
the thing
his entire
too.
career. And like Wentz is just a guy that they traded for in the offseason that they would like to be their guy, but I personally don't think he is.
No,
so I think the situation is a little bit different.
It's sad when and I understand. But all in all, it's the QB controversy over there. We got one more general topic here, and I think he's been getting memed out a lot on social media. They've not been riding this year. Broncos country is not riding.
Let's ride. Broncos country.
Let's just talk about Russell Wilson for a little bit, if you don't mind.
He fucking sucks.
Because I saw it's true. I see so many bad clips coming out of Broncos. There was the one. There are two clips I really want to talk about here on mine. There's the first clip, which is from the game, which is when the defense gets a turnover, I think, and then the defense comes right over to Russ and just starts screaming at him on the bench. Like, get out there and fucking do something. Like go out. Come on, we're doing everything we can. And then, he goes out and, throws two incompletes. The team's falling apart around him. Everyone's angry. Javonte Williams out for the year with ACL injury. It was so promising for these guys going into the season. Broncos country, let's ride. Let's ride.
Quick fun fact. If the Broncos would have scored 18 points in every one of their games, they'd only have one loss right now.
But that's
really?
Yeah,
that's
how good
incredible.
Their defense is playing right now.
No, their defense is legit. Evero, I think, is their D coordinator. That dude, one of the best D coordinators in the league, might deserve a head coaching job next year for how well he's made this Broncos defense play, considering how bad the offense has been.
No, but the thing is, my thing is we see all this hate on Rush in the media. Like, George, you can talk about the TikTok a little bit if you want to, but there's a TikTok series going around right now.
The TikTok series is incredible. Essentially, Russell Wilson bought a mega mansion in Denver, and this the mega mansion has 12 bathrooms. And since the beginning of the year, since week 1, this TikTok has tracked how many touchdowns Russell Wilson has thrown in a comparison of how many bathrooms are in his house. And as it stands, week 12 of the NFL season, Russell Wilson's at 8 touchdowns thrown, 12 bathrooms in his house. Right now, it's going to come down to a nail biter if the trend
He's on average for, if he keeps at his pace, he will not make it. He has to pick up the pace.
That's so bad. That's so fucking
He's not
bad.
on pace to get as many touchdowns as he does have bathrooms.
How many interceptions does he have? Because he has 8 touchdowns. How many interceptions? Is it close?
I don't know. But I guess, so I have a question. We have two questions. It's not going to be, Sean's back this week, so it's going to be a little different.
Oh, it's so
But
bad.
one, how do we feel about Russell in general? I can go first on that. But second, Laws, would anybody take him on our team right now? Like your team? Would you even take Russell at this point in his career and the way things are going? Because, I've sort of expressed the way I feel about it's a shame to see him underperform the way he is. But as I sort of mentioned before, I think I look to the Richard Sherman clip for a little insight on the Russell Wilson. And I don't know schemes that well. I don't talk it. But Richard Sherman made it seem 2 points pretty obvious. They are running a very different scheme for Russ in the offense than they did in Seahawk land, in Seattle.
Seahawk land.
But the other thing I'm seeing is I'm blanking now. But the whole issue with all these clips coming out of all the different people yelling at him. And particularly the one news story I don't know if it was true or not, but the news story that got released that said he was calling Seahawks audibles in the game, like week 11 or 9 or something. Like his receivers don't know what's going on. His linemen turning around like, what? And like, if that's the sort of disorderliness that's going on, I understand you move systems, but it's week 12, Russ. You got to start playing a little football here. So I don't think I'd take him. I'm gonna be honest. I think the only guy I would replace our lineup with him on is Mitch Trubisky, but I like Trubisky. I'm a Trubisky fan still. I don't know how y'all feel about Russ though.
I mean, George, you want to go or do you want me to go?
I mean, mine's real quick. I wouldn't take him over Jacoby Brissett, let alone Deshaun Watson. I'm riding with my boys. I'm riding with 4. I'm riding with 7. Jacoby Brissett led us to the 5th most efficient offense in the league, top 10 QBR from a quarterback. He's unequivocally played better than
No,
Russ
I
this
know.
year.
I said it'd be definite for you on that one, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as for me, I mean, in the off season, I was a big proponent of like Washington trading, for Russell Wilson.
I was same. I wanted
Like
to
I
come
was,
with it.
and honestly, Washington I forget the exact offer now, but Washington had a better offer for Seattle for Russell than Denver did. But now I am so happy that Seattle was like, no, you we don't want to take your deal. Like I wouldn't take him over Wentz or Heineke. I think he's probably better than Wentz and Heineke right now, despite how actually he's probably not bad. I think Heineke's honestly played more clutch than Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson's more talented than Wentz and Heineke.
What era are
But
we in?
but in terms of like clutch and winning games, like Russell Wilson just doesn't win you games. I mean, Heineke, for all the complaints, has won games. I mean, he's 5-1 as the starter. I mean,
It's so
the dude.
it is so sad to see what's become of him. He's just
No,
like a
and I mean-
TikTok meme. Like
No, yeah, and I guess I'll give Pete Carroll all his credit because he must have really hid the true Russell Wilson from everyone because this was not as bad.
part of me is wondering, is it that scheming thing that Richard Sherman was talking about? Like, is it actually just a system problem? Like,
well, it could be. And I'll say,
is
like,
Russell Wilson a really good tool, but just being wielded wrong in the wrong garden patch?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I think Nathaniel Hackett should be fired after this year because no matter what you say, I think the Broncos are invested in Russell Wilson for like that. Like, I think they pay him a good 240 mil, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
like for 5 years. Like they have him for like another 4 years. I think 3 or 4 years.
You got to figure something out.
And I think I don't think you're going to have anyone take him at this point. So I think you just got to bring in I think what you do there is you bring in Dan Quinn from the Cowboys and you bring in his old OC from Seattle just so he has some continuity. Because I think it might be like you said, maybe it is just him being misused, but the way he looks right now, especially his locker room and leadership presence, I wouldn't want him on my team. I mean, no way. He kills the locker room.
No, and that's right. I
It's
think
not worth it.
Is it too soon to say R.I.P. to Russ? Is it too soon?
Oh, I'm officially ready to say it for this year.
Oh gosh, for this
year, I think
I think I'm ready to call it for this year. But what do you think for the future?
it depends on.
Because I still have a little shred of hope. I still have a shred of hope.
Paying
in
him
there
$200 million, so you gotta hope.
Yeah,
I
guess
mean,
you're right.
like I said, I think it really depends on who they bring in next year as their head coach. Because I think Nathaniel Hackett just in general, even if you want to like they just haven't looked prepared. Like Seattle, the Broncos have not looked prepared for games, and I think that's a Nathaniel Hackett problem, not a Russell Wilson problem. Russell Wilson's done a lot of bad on the field shit and off the field stuff in terms of being a leader, sure, but like Nathaniel Hackett has not done a good job, and I don't care if they don't fire him until the end of the year, but that man should be fired, and they need to just look for the best possible option to make Russell Wilson look like Russell Wilson again because you're invested now, and I don't think you can get out of it that easily.
All right. But with that, though, I think that hits most of our big breaking news discussions. But I think mostly we're going to try to... I think we're going to hit a couple of things. The injuries, I think we could wrap through real quick, so I can go over that, especially because we already talked Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers plans... He according as reported by Kevin Patra, but also I saw him on the McAfee thing, he wants to play against the Bears. And recent examinations say he can play against the Bears. So it's all up to them. And speaking of the Bears, Darnell Mooney, though, out for the season. Ankle injury, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have that. I just know it is season ending, and that's what I read on multiple sources. Also getting on some running backs. Travis Etienne says he'll be back against the Lions next week. That's good for Duval and the boys and the little team for us. But with the same Liz Frank similarity, Najee got injured this week, and luckily it wasn't his foot. It was some weird abdomen thing. But they're saying it's looking like he's going to be back as well. And so, injury updates. There's a lot of other injuries. I know Aaron Donald, potentially one. But there's other ones too. I think Matt Stafford might have had a little injury scare too, right? I want to say.
Yeah, he's still in the concussion protocol, but
Yeah.
I think they expect him to be back this week.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
But overall,
We'll learn more about that over the next
also,
few
we
days.
could do a real brief talk on fantasy. I mean, I think all of our pretty fantasy point talks were pretty straightforward. I mean, looks like they're all about our team.
Before we get in there, we can just be really quick about this. Since Justin Fields is also questionable to play this week, we kind of talked about this before the Bears a little bit and a little bit about Fields. But do you guys think Justin Fields has done enough this year to where in my opinion, he has done enough this year to show that he has starter potential going forward? And I think
agree.
you just sit him for the rest of the year. Like, I don't think you need to evaluate
who's behind him?
anymore.
Who's behind him?
Trevor Siemian. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter.
No, that's
Like,
that's sort of my thing though. Like, I might let someone else play.
yeah, like just sit Fields to get him healthy and let him rest up for next year. I think
you know what you
take
have
a
in
great
Simeon.
stride.
I don't mean to be like that.
No, yeah, I think you know what you have in Simeon too. I'm more saying from the Fields perspective.
Yeah.
Why risk him getting hurt? You're not doing
I
anything
agree. You
this
know what?
year.
You're probably, especially with the way he's been on and off, and especially with how hard he plays, it would be good to get him like really healthy for the next season. I agree.
Yeah, I mean they're a 3-win team, right? Like they're gonna have a top 10 draft pick. Like you're not playing for the playoffs. You know, don't risk your future QB. I think you just sit him down, let him heal up, and build up for next year. That's my opinion. I know I don't like tanking, but I'm not saying they shouldn't play hard. I'm just saying when you're risking a player like that and your season's kind of over, you probably should be safe and sit him and not risk him having a career-ending injury. Similar to how RG3 hurt his knee like twice during the 2012 year, and then his knee was forever destroyed.
I'm not going to argue against your logic, but I'm going to argue against your morals here. I'm the tough it out kind of guy. I think Fields probably is too, and I think he'll probably play.
Oh, I think if you ask me what I think will happen, I think he will play.
Yeah, but logic, you do have a logical point that I'm not going to argue.
All right, fair enough. No, I
Yep.
get that.
Yeah. All right. Final talk in this bulk portion. Let's talk fantasy. I have a little bit of waiver wire things we can get to after our each individual talks, but I just want to say one thing. This shouldn't be hard to do, but we're all going to have some pretty brief observations here about our own personal teams. Stay away from the Steelers. I don't know who's scoring. I mean, like Pickens might be a little bit of a good pick, but like everyone else other than Freiermuth too, especially the running back room, just stay away from them fantasy. Let's look at last game. Let's look who got touches. Warren was hurt, so he's not on the roster to begin with. But Najee, Snell, McFarland, Derek Watt, and Oshevsky all get designed runs, as well as Pickett getting one specific design run amongst his other QB rushes. Like, there are so many people touching the ball in the Steelers' rush right now, and it's honestly not that great that I say stay away from it. Anyone else on theirs?
Yeah, I'll talk the Washington backfield real quick because you got Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, kind of the cemented roles, the 1A 1B backs, and it's a very weird take. I think they're both startable, but I would say keep on the lookout for Robinson to keep improving, because I think Brian Robinson has shown the last game specifically that like he's starting to get healthy again and really starting to hit his stride. Like, you have to remember, he was shot in the knee in the offseason. Like, dude like had to be on IR for the first 4 weeks recovering from a gunshot wound. Like, the dude is just getting healthy now, and I think we're just starting to see what he can really do. So while I think currently Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr. are both startable in leagues, I think that going forward after the bye specifically, I think it might just become Brian Robinson's show. And Gibson, if it's a shootout, will be the passing down back. But I think Brian Robinson's going to take away most of Gibson's work in the next few weeks. Oh, and always start Scary Terry. Always start Scary Terry, no matter what. Especially if Heineke's playing.
Yeah, I was going to ask. We have that one question. Is Scary Terry supposed to be in there? Would you play it, especially with the matchup? Yeah, okay. All right, good.
Heineke's playing. Like Scary Terry.
We'll throw it over to George for them brownies real quick.
Oh, I mean, let's talk about all the people who took that roster spot and cashed Deshaun Watson for the first 11, 12 weeks here. I mean, that's dedication. You guys all hope he comes through this week. I hope he does for you guys. And same thing with Odell's stashes right now. He might have just got kicked off an airplane for going in and out of consciousness and not wearing a seatbelt, but good to you guys for stashing them. I think they're two guys that could make big differences in fantasy football playoffs. And congratulations to the Deshaun Watson owners. You guys could send Sam Darnold, Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins back to the waiver wires. You got your guy.
Yeah. But I got a few more different waiver wires, just things to look at that got some important possessions. So the first one we're going to look at, a guy we talked about a little bit in our first little neighborhood watch section. A guy who is supposedly only rostered on 8% of rosters. Zay Jones. I think Zay Jones is a pickup. I think Zay Jones is a pick. I can't believe only 8% of rosters had him.
That's incredible.
I can't believe it. Go buy that man. All in on Zay Jones. We're all in on the Jaguars. Another receiver. This is going to be a little biased, so he's making it on the list. So I'm biased. I like him. He's my dog. I played video games with myself. First off, Chase Claypool. Because, he might have only he had his best game yet with the Bears, with a pair of catches and 51 yards. But Darnell Mooney is out. It is time. They need another big guy to throw the ball to. And Chase Claypool is that man. He might fall down when he's catching the ball. He might not be able to catch it in the sprint. But gosh darn it, they're going to need somebody to throw it to now. Going running back, there's one. This is another little personal bias, but one that I think is really important for people owning Michael Carter, especially as he exited that game with the ankle injury. There is a 0% roster in their replacement coming in. His name is Zonovan Knight, but on the NFL Fantasy app, he is known as Bam Knight. So you got to look him up differently on different apps depending on what you're on. But it's literally rostered 0%. So with the injuries and all that, if you've got Michael Carter and you just need to chop him out like I do, it might be a good one to look at. Other than that, we could look at some quarterback matchups, but I think we're going to stay away from that for the waiver wires. Most people have their good QBs set in. You're not trying to just scrunge around. And so this will bring us to our third bulk portion, where we're talking about next week's games. We're talking about things that matter. We're going to start off with the big games that matter, and it looks like we got 3 ones here listed up, so each one of us, I guess, could take one of them a little bit. I think these are games that matter in the playoff picture. I think these are games that matter just for being fun. I think these are games that matter divisionally. But my one that I really wanted to talk about, I think, is the Jets versus the Vikings. Because, first off, the Giants are already just doing good. But New York football's going crazy this year. Can we talk about that? It's the first time in a while I think both teams have been this good.
First time in a while, one of the teams.
It's true. And the Vikings might be one of my favorite. Every time I turn on the Vikings this year, I have the time of my life. Justin Jefferson is so fun to watch.
He's a beast.
Especially that Bills Vikings game might go down as one of the best games in football history. That was crazy.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure I don't know who wants to talk about which one, but George, I see you brought up this one, next one.
Yep. Miami, San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Now, this game, not to get ahead of myself, this is a potential Super Bowl matchup.
No, I agree, actually, George. I was going to mention that. I agree.
Whoa,
I think that's
Miami is one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Their offense looks unstoppable. Mike McDaniel looks like an evil mastermind behind the team at head coach. And they've played just absolutely out of their minds lately. And I mean, they took down the Bills. They're one of the Bills slayers. If we're talking about Super Bowl favorites in the AFC, you got the Chiefs, Bills, and Dolphins, in my opinion. And they already took down the Bills once. They could do it again. It took down the Ravens as well. So that Miami team is loaded out there in the AFC. And the same can really be said in the NFC with the 49ers. I mean, the skill room in San Francisco. I know Elijah Mitchell just went down, had a little injury, but you still got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. San Francisco's absolutely loaded. Even though Jimmy Garoppolo's not necessarily doing what Jalen Hurts-like things out there, they're winning football games. And let alone, they might have the best defense in the league.
I was going to say, their defense is nasty.
Looks like an animal this year. Fred Warner's the best middle linebacker in football, and Ward out there on the corner has been locked down this year. So this I'm not saying they're my two teams I'm predicting for the Super Bowl, but this is very potentially a Super Bowl.
And honestly, I think this last matchup, I think this is just going to be a crazy game. But if James, if you want to take it,
Sure. I mean, like George was saying, how the Miami-San Fran game could be a possible Super Bowl matchup. The thing that I think could really change that is one of the two teams in this game, honestly, specifically the Chiefs. I definitely favor the Chiefs over Miami to make the Super Bowl from the AFC, but I think there's an argument for Miami. But kind of going more into this game, the Bengals-Chiefs, the really important thing is that Jamar Chase should be back for this game.
Oh God,
like he's practice limited all of last week. They didn't play him last week because they wanted to keep his rollout a little bit steady. They didn't want to rush him. He's on pace to play this week. That's going to be a huge boost for the Bengals, especially against a Chiefs secondary who, while I think the secondary is playing, Chiefs defense in general is playing really well. I think their secondary can be a weak point, especially when you have basically 3 number 1 receivers on the field. It's difficult for any secondary to cover that. Not only that, but I think the Bengals defense is very underrated this year. I think they're doing a great job. I've always thought their defense has been well schemed. And, Joey B, he can just win games. That being said, though, I think the Chiefs win it. I really do. I think the Chiefs lost to them twice last year, and I think they're out for revenge. I really think they're going to bring their all for this game. I think they're going to treat it like it's a playoff game, and I think Patrick Mahomes is going to come out with, honestly, maybe the best roster the Chiefs have had in a long time. And I speak of the overall roster. I understand they lost Tyreek Hill in the offseason. That's a huge loss. But I think their offense has still looked extremely dynamic without him. And
I mean, they filled it. They got Juju. I don't mean to be like that.
Yeah.
They got rid of one slot receiver with another great one.
No, they got Tyreek Hill's.
I don't think we could say Juju replaced Tyreek Hill.
No, I don't think that.
They also grabbed Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore in the draft, MVS in free agency. So they lost one guy, but they added.
No, it's not just one. I agree.
Oh, no, yeah. They've added a bunch of pieces to fill in, and they've done a great job distributing the ball. Travis Kelce is still the best tight end in the league right now. And the Chiefs' defense has been playing lights out. Like, they've been, honestly, since Patrick Mahomes has been on the Chiefs, even their Super Bowl defense, I think this defense right now for the Chiefs is the best Chiefs defense they've had in Patrick Mahomes' time there. Like, I think we're seeing probably the best overall Chiefs team, like, in Patrick Mahomes' time. Like,
back to Travis Kelce, man. I think Travis Kelce isn't just playing like the best tight end in football right now. I think he might be having one of the best tight end seasons of all time.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the man is playing out of his mind. And even though and it's one of those things where teams know where Patrick Mahomes wants to throw. Kelce's almost always his first look, and Mahomes will always get him the ball.
Can't stop it.
No. So, I mean, I think Chiefs win that. I think it's, like Nider was saying, I think it's a crazy game. But I think the Chiefs win. I think the Chiefs treat it like a playoff game and come out playing really hard.
Right. And I think we hit the neighborhood watch here real quick instead before our favorite teams, just because I think there's not much to talk about in the neighborhood watch this week. It's going to be a little easy game. We got the cat fight in Jags-Lions for our community watch this week. And I don't think the Jaguars should have a problem finishing off Detroit. I look at it and I see they don't have Hawkinson anymore, who I thought was the most dangerous guy on their team. I look at this team and I see a gutted, lifeless organization. I think changes need to be made.
You're doing my guy Dan Campbell dirty, man.
Yeah,
I think changes need to be made. I think they had a little flash of light. They had a little flash in the pan, but
they almost beat the Bills last week.
Yeah, but like football, man.
They're trying. They're picking it up. Don't get me wrong, but the Lions will be the Lions. The Lions will be the Lions.
I mean, listen. I think our boy Trevor Lawrence and the boys from Duval are gonna go to Detroit and win. I think they win that game. That being said, I think Trevor Lawrence builds on his performance of last week and keeps going. I think Peterson's a good coach. I think Trevor Lawrence is getting in a groove, and I think he's going to perform really well. That being said, though, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. The Lions have played really well the last few weeks, especially they've almost beat the Bills. I think that really shows what their team can do as a whole. And so I think our boys win, but I think it might be a nail biter game like last week. It might take another Doug Peterson 2-point conversion call at the end of the game to win the game, if you know what I'm saying.
We'll see. But let's get into our favorite team analysis before we get into that final closing section. And so, again, I think all three of us, I think we might have something to worry about this week, and it's probably from a team we really normally wouldn't be worried about. And, you know, I'm not saying, like, I think it's necessarily for all of us, I think we're going to lose. Like, I think the Browns will beat the Texans. But I think all of us will have, you know, a little bit of a potential, they see this week falling apart, at least. And I could start, too, with the Steelers-Falcons, because I think out of these games, I think that might be the least entertaining of the three. Because it's going to be Steelers-Falcons, and, you know, these aren't two, either side of the ball, you're not looking at any explosive teams, you know. And sadly, what we're looking at with the Falcons is Mariota, you know. Mariota, Kenny Pickett. I want to say my boys should have it. I really want to. But I'm a Steelers fan, and I know the reality of our situation, and I know the reality of how we play. And I know we're probably going to lose by like 40. I know Marcus Mariota's probably going to hang like 4 tutties on us. Like, it's going to be stupid what happens this game. I'm hopeful. It's a game the Steelers should win, in my opinion. But I'm worried about one big, bad tight end man ruining us. Absolutely scorching our middle. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I'd probably, if I were looking at the line for the Steelers game, it's got the Steelers at -1. I mean, I agree with that, but it's going to be this is going to be a nitty-gritty game. And I'm scared of Marcus Mariota. I said that earlier in the podcast. Marcus Mariota scares me.
Yeah, just real quick for me, I got the Browns over the Texans. I don't think the game's particularly close. I think we could come out a little rusty. I think you could see a 0-0 game, 7-0 Texans at the end of the first quarter. I think especially in the second half, the Browns open it up. We run the ball, we pass the ball, score. Give me the Browns 31-6.
Oh my God, I got to give a score. Let me go back on my Steelers.
Wow.
You don't have to give a score. That was just off the top of my knowledge.
George is just being obnoxious right now.
Jeez, I'll give you a score. I'm going to go like 20-17 Steelers. Like, it's going to be a low scoring right there.
All right.
I'm going to write these down too. George, you said what?
31.
I want to write
look
this.
back on this.
Yeah, I just want to.
All right, fair enough. No, but
yeah.
see, I think my matchup here is honestly probably the toughest one of the three.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
this is for this game, this series, because Washington plays the Giants twice in 3 weeks, and they have a bye week after this game. If the playoffs are on the line here for the Giants and the Washington Commanders going into these next 3 weeks, and I think it's going to be a really close game. I think Washington has a better overall offense, has a better overall defense, and is better on special teams than the Giants. But it's a divisional game. Anything can happen, even though Washington has momentum. And I think Daboll's a really good coach and runs a really good scheme. I think, to me, the run game is really critical for this game on both sides. Both sides are going to want to establish it, and both sides are going to try and stop it. For Washington, the key is going to be not only stopping Saquon, but making sure that Daniel Jones stays in the pocket. Daniel Jones cannot be the rushing quarterback that he normally is. Washington needs to have their D-line contain him and make him throw the ball to their non-existent receiving core. If Washington can do that, I think they can win the game. But going back to the offensive side for Washington, their deep plays haven't had very many deep plays over their win streak, and I'd like to see them hit on some more play-action deep shots. I think they need to utilize that more and hit on the red zone more. But like I said, I still think the Commanders will pull away with a win here. Since we're going scores, I think it's tight. I think it's like 25-24 Washington with the win.
I can't wait for all of us to pick our teams this week and all of us to lose.
Hey, no, we only win here. Listen.
Yeah, that's true. We only pick the most based of takes. But that leads us with our final bark portions. We're going to get closing things down, but we got a little description to do because this is going to be the end of the show, this is going to happen here, but usually at the beginning of the show, we'd be going over this. We're doing a little scoreboard betting, not actual money between us, but you know how other sports shows, they'll at the end of the show, they'll all make their predictions and then they'll keep track week to week. We're doing our own spin on that. We've got a little different rule set. So each week, we're all going to be making 5 picks. We're going to have 4 normal picks and 1 money lock pick, we're calling it, which is going to be worth 3. So we've got a total of 7. If you get all 7 points, you get that tutty. You're perfect, you get the tutty. You might miss the extra point. You might be near perfect too. Potential. You might still get the tutty, but
you might
either
get a
way,
field goal and a safety.
we're gonna have some weird rules for picking here, which are gonna be a little bit different than other shows. Most picks will be off of Vegas lines. So when we pick a team here, we will be making clear. Obviously, we will be doing Vegas lines for the most part. So if I wanted to bet the Steelers this week, the Steelers are -1. I'd have to take that. However, you are allowed to pick straight winners. You could just pick teams, but they have to be underdogs. And the other 2 casters can veto it if we think you're abusing a little straight winner, And so I will keep track of this. I'll write this down here for us. I don't know who wants to go first with their picks, if anyone has theirs particularly drawn out and ready.
So do we want to do like a back and forth? Do we each want to like kind of go in a row? Like I give one, then you give one, then George gives one, and then we just do that? Or do we just want to give all of our picks?
Let's do this. Let's do our first 4. Just you do 4, I do 4, Nutter does 4, whatever order. And then
we'll do our money lock.
Okay, I like that. I like it.
All right.
I can start. I've got mine written down. Nate, are you ready for this?
Yep, let's go.
All right. And this is going to go very heavily against what George said earlier, but I have the Texans +7 for this game.
Wow.
I think it's way closer than anyone thinks.
That's it.
I think the Browns are rusty, and I think the Texans getting 7 in a game that I think everyone in Houston wants them to win. If they're getting 7 points, I take the points here. After that, kind of going back to a big game we talked about earlier, the San Fran Miami game. I'm gonna take San Fran -4. I think San Fran's really good. I think they're a very much an underrated team in the NFC right now. I think they could probably beat any team in the NFC, to be completely honest. And I think the way you beat a high-powered offense like Miami is you run the ball, and San Fran runs the ball probably as well as any team in the league. So I take San Fran -4 there. And then another game that I've talked about already. I said Washington was going to win, but I take the Giants +2.5 in this game. I think it's going to be a 1-point game.
James is hedging his bets. James is hedging his bets.
I am. I think it's going to be a 1-point game. I think you take the Giants here. I think that's what you got to do.
James is like, week 1 of a podcast. Either my favorite team pick's going to be right, or I'm getting this bet right. I'm.
Hey, you do what you got to do out here, man. I got to make people some money if they actually want to bet this, And then my last pick of the 4 is Chargers -2 here. Josh Jacobs might not play, and I don't know what the Raiders are going to do if Josh Jacobs doesn't play. I think the Chargers are just a better team. I love the Raiders, but I just don't think they're good this year. I don't know about McDaniels as a coach, so I think the Chargers -2. I think they win by at least a touchdown.
Okay. I respect those picks. You want me to go, George, or do you want me to keep track of yours first? All right. This is going to be a shame because I shit talked them a lot earlier in this podcast, but I can't look at this spread, and you guys might want to count me on this because Yahoo might be showing me something different than y'all. But I've got +11 on the Colts against the Cowboys. And I'm telling you...
no, that sounds right.
Yeah. I think I'm taking that as my first pick. I think they had a really good second half last week against us. They really figured things out. Like, I think if they can continue with the momentum that they had at the end of that game, they shouldn't lose by 11 points. It's a big if. It's also me being really optimistic because I have Jonathan Taylor on my fantasy team. But this is what I got to do. I'm looking at these lines. I'm looking around, and I think the next one I might do is going to be a little not controversial, but I'm taking the Packers -5. Do I have to round up or round down half spreads, or are we keeping them in half?
Yeah, you take it.
No, you keep.
Oh, I keep them in half. All right, then it's 4.5. I'm taking GB 4.5. minus 4.5 against the Bears. I think A-Rod's coming out this week with something to prove to all these Jordan Love sympathizers. I think A-Rod hangs like 5 tutties this week. Big week for him. This is going to be a bold prediction. But I think the Jets pull out something fun against Minnesota this week. Give me the Jets +3. And then for my final normal pick, I don't need to talk much. I think that's going to be an entertaining game. We talked enough about it. My final short pick, I'm doubling down on them. Taking my Steelers. Taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't care. Or did we say we don't want to do that? Do we not want?
You can do it. Yeah. Do whatever you want.
Okay. I'm taking my Steelers. I'm taking Pitt. Plus, what's the spread on Pitt? Let's look real quick. I don't have it all written out. That's my fault. -1. Yeah, I'll take that. I think Steelers. I'm just going to assume we're winning that game. All right. There's my 4, though. I've got Colts Jorge. +11, Green Bay, Jets, Pitt.
Admittedly, I have a repeat from James and a repeat from Nider. I have these all written down before.
That's fine. I trust you. You're going last. It's hard to.
It's understandable.
I also have the Giants +2.5 against Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I also have Pittsburgh -1.
Let's go, Georgie!
Wow,
Georgie's a Pitts fan this week.
Man, our first podcast, we're already thinking alike, boys. Look at us.
Maybe to absolutely no one's surprise, I have Cleveland -7 first week.
Dude, that's a rough pick. I don't know.
31-6.
Well, yeah, all right. And then what was your fourth pick?
And then my last pick.
Yeah.
Game we haven't talked really not about yet. We got Buffalo -4.
Ooh, the Thursday nighter. Thursday
night game.
You got Buffalo -4?
That's the Pats.
I got Buffalo -3.5 on Yahoo. What does James got?
I think it's -4. At least.
All right, I'll give you -4.
Make it hard. Make me earn it.
I'll make it. I'll do it. I'll -4. I'll do it. All right. And now we all got one money lock pick. And this is gonna be worth 3 points.
I do like George's pick though. The Bills -4.
I do.
I like that game. That's gonna be a good game.
I really like my picks. I'm gonna put that up.
Fair enough. All right. Sorry, Nider. Keep going.
All right, we're on to our money lock picks, and so the reminder: this can be we haven't had any straight winners yet. You can pick an underdog with the straight winner. I think that's the thing, isn't it? We might have to retalk these rules after. Why would you ever pick a straight winner underdog? Because aren't they going to have a spread?
That would be dumb. So we're probably not going to do that.
Yeah. You're right. Let's just stick to spreads. Stick to spreads.
We're just going to stick to spreads. That's
stick
fine.
to spreads, yeah. I thought
about
that more.
You want me to start again, or are we going to go reverse order?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Same order, sir.
Let's go reverse. Right. No, we'll reverse so George doesn't steal our picks again.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Because my lock of the week is a game that has not been mentioned in this at all yet. And I know it's only the first episode, and I know our community team is the Jaguars, but give me Dan Campbell, Jared Goff.
This is not where I thought you were going.
Against the Jaguars.
You're rooting against us week 1?
Give me the Lions +1 against the Jaguars.
Oh my God, George. The community's going to hate you.
Lock of the week against our boys.
All right. Mine's also one that we haven't touched on yet this week. And I definitely hammered on this team in the show and their quarterback. I think they're falling apart. I'm taking the team against them Monday night. Give me is it Andy Dalton still? Is it the Red Rider? Give me Andy Dalton against Tom Brady Monday night. I'm taking the Saints. Saints +3.5. I want it.
I love it. Tom Brady always falls apart again.
I want it. And what I really want is Ian Book to get in.
Ian Book for the return. Dude, that man got destroyed the last time he played.
I know. He came out first pass with an interception. But last money lock of the day. Last money lock. Jamesy.
All right. Yeah, this is a game we also haven't talked about. We talked about one of the teams, though. We've talked about them a lot, and
Oh,
despite giving them a lot of praise, I'm taking the Titans +5
No
against
way.
the Eagles this week.
ooh,
Wow.
that's for your luck. Oh my, this is gonna be. Listen,
For my luck.
I'm-
And
if
honestly,
this
you can even
happened-
bet them to win. I think they straight up win, but I'll take them at +5, 100%.
That's that Michael Graham influence right there.
I'm
Man.
telling you, if me and George are either gonna be laughing at you at the beginning of the next podcast about that one, or we are gonna be looking like idiots.
We got some incredible picks laid out here, fellas.
I think we do.
No,
We got
I
a good
think- I
spread.
think-
Only George has a little bit of overlap, but I mean that's not too bad. We've got a good spread. But
No,
closing,
I think we've actually did a great job actually making these bets.
yeah, this is a pretty good spread, I think here. So going over it one last time, I'll get it just to make sure I didn't do it. We got Jamesy for his first 4, and then the money luck. We got Texans +7, San Francisco -4, the Giants +2.5, and the Chargers -2, with the Titans locked in for the money at +5.5. George
Just
got
+5. It's
just +5. Okay.
Yeah, just
I
+5.
was
But you
giving
can
you-
take them as a winner too. Take them as a winner too. I think they'll just win. But if
I
they-
mean-
I also think the Lions will just win, but that's not important to me.
The line, I think we
I'm
did just
shooting
for
my shot.
consistency, yeah. But George,
Yeah, I'm just shooting my
Giants,
shot.
Giants got +2.5. Pitt -1, Cleveland -7, Buffalo -4, and Lions +1 for the lock. And then Niter, Colts +11. I can't believe nobody took the +11. That felt too easy for me. I can't see a
I
double-digit spread and not
debated
pick it.
going to -11 to be honest.
Oh, what? Oh, the Green Bay -4.5 for me. Jets +3. Pittsburgh -1, and then my lock is the Saints +3.5. But all in all, we ended up going really long today.
We did.
Damn near. This is
over.
well over 2 hours.
Over. Well, I've got us at 2 hours and 6 minutes right now, so we're wrapping things up.
Jeez.
We'll be a little more laid out, hopefully a little more concise next show, guys. I think
don't
we had
mind.
too much. I think we had too much content prepped, guys. I think we're too good at that.
I think we started too late at night is our only problem because I'm ready to fall asleep.
That's true, but I think we had a good chat. We'll definitely try to figure out something better for our schedule. But for y'all, if y'all have any comments, remember I said it at the very top, but we're hopefully going to have our email and all of that other good social stuff in the description. I'm going to be making a YouTube channel, a Spotify channel, and a TikTok channel at least. But right now, we've got at least an email for you to email some questions in at, which is going to be the neighborhood watch party at gmail.com. You know?
No, yeah,
send,
guys, please email us questions, please. We'd love that.
send in your questions,
would
comments down the
love-
video.
Answer questions.
We will argue whatever comment you say, and even if it's got to be something like we'll if it's not a team we talked a lot about today, don't think that we might not cover the entire league every week. But if we don't get to your team in a couple weeks and you're getting worried about asking a question about them, ask a question. Be like, where were I don't know who we didn't really talk about today, but let's look. Let's just I don't
We didn't
know.
talk about except for my
The Patriots.
opinion,
We didn't
never
talk about the Patriots at all today.
Hey,
Isn't
a
that-
little bit. A little bit. I took the Bills over them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But like that got mentioned, right? It's a good day in football when you don't have to talk about the Patriots.
We didn't talk. Actually, we didn't talk about the Cardinals at all. We actually never
That
talked
too.
about them.
And honestly, I think we could have talked about the Patriots a little bit with that whole Jesse James revenge.
I don't want to get too far into this because we're over 2 hours.
No, and that's the thing. We're
Cardinals
wrapping.
have some drama brewing.
That's
They
true.
really do.
They do.
Kyler Murray actually defeated a couple hours ago at Patrick Peterson, dissing him on his podcast. And then DeAndre Hopkins tweeted something like, "Why are you going at my man when he's down? What do you mean he's down? We know he's short, but is something wrong in Arizona?"
Yeah, no, I don't know what's going on there.
Jeez.
Things are brewing. We might have to let that cook a little bit. See it next week. We'll definitely talk about that more if we missed it this week. But again, I'm Andrew Niter. You've heard me probably be called a different thing. I'm with my boy George and James. This is the Neighborhood Watch Party podcast, and we thank you for tuning in. Goodbye, y'all.
Have a nice night, guys. Peace out.
Duval. You bet against Duval. I don't want to hear it, Georgie.
This week.
Yeah, man.